right, good evening, everybody. We are still missing one council person, Renee Flores. She'll be here in just a couple minutes, we're told, but we'll go ahead and get started. We've got a full house tonight and a full agenda with several public hearings, and I'm assuming there's so many of you here because you want to talk about it, and that's fine. We'll let you speak. So we'll go ahead and get started. It's 6:39. Meeting's now in session. If everybody would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public comments. I just took a look to see, so sometimes if there are things that are on the agenda that you want to talk about, we'll wait until that item comes up. That way you can hear the conversation from the council, from staff, and then you can speak. A lot of times it makes your comments a lot more relevant. But if there are things that you want to talk about in general that have nothing to do with the agenda, you're certainly welcome to speak at this time. So is there anybody that wants to talk about something that's not on the agenda, that just wants to make a comment about anything? Okay. Then with that, I will hold all of these. I see most of you have them marked on the agenda item. I'll be sure to give you an opportunity to speak. And again, for most of these things are going to be public hearings. And so as part of the public hearing, anybody has the opportunity to comment whether you've signed up or not. That takes us to item 1, which is the consent agenda. Item 1A, and that's to consider approving minutes of regular council meeting held on June 13th, 2022. Council, those minutes are in your packet. Any questions or clarifications to those? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion, a second, on item 1A. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 2 is discussion and possible action to award contract and approval of the proposed change order to Connors Construction, Inc. for flexible base material for the construction of Judith Road in the McGregor Industrial Park as recommended by Walker Partners.
Jacob,
Staff, who do we have?
there he is.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. We released a RFB, or request for bids, for flexible base for the construction of Judith Road. It was a public bid. We received one bid from Connors Construction. And so at the bid that was received as part of that RFB, we had listed in there that the contractor was responsible for also delivering that material to the project site. After receiving the bid, it was pretty well evident that they did not see that clause within the RFB. And so we reached out to them and they provided us an additional cost. The unit cost that was bid, we feel like is a pretty fair cost and what you would typically see if we were to if it weren't to be delivered. And so in the essence of time, because we are under the gun there, the contractor that's on site is ready for this material to be delivered so they can continue with the on schedule. We decided to just go ahead and award it and then issue or approve a change order to include the delivery of the material. In lieu of actually rebidding the project and have them bid it such that their bid included delivery of the material.
So just for clarification, was the $111,375 that's in the letter, that was always going to be part of the cost, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
And so the
That-
change order is just really then about the $27,000 for the delivery of it?
It is, yes. And with local government code, we can't increase the contract price by more than 25%. And so We're having to kind of rework the numbers as far as the amount that's in the contract to be delivered to the site. As part of our estimate, we did include probably about a 10% increase, and so we're hoping with the amount that's included in the revised quantity, we'll still be able to cover everything we need for the project.
And so for the public out there, this is the road that is being constructed. Some of you may know where Judith Road is. It's being constructed for Knopf, the new company that's coming to town. That Judith Road is going to connect, what's the main road we have that goes into the park? I call it Park Road, but Blue Bonnet. And it's going to run over to Mother Neff Parkway. It's going to connect those roads for the first time. Right now, Judith Road runs into the middle of our ag land, looks like a pasture. So it's going to connect those two roads and give Knopf an ability to bring their trucks off of Mother Neff Parkway instead of Blue Bonnet Parkway in front of our schools and through neighborhoods, that sort of thing. So that's the idea behind that. Kevin, I guess maybe it's a question for Carolyn. The change order amount, all part of the bond that's been awarded? Is that
Yes, sir.
where the money comes from?
Yes, sir. Just one point of clarification, this is just the first phase, and it starts from Mother Neff and goes to the northernmost gate of where Knopf will be, but pretty soon we'll be going ahead and stepping it up to make that connection at Blue Bonnet and Johnson Drive, which will become a four-way intersection, recall.
How long is that road? Is Judith Road gonna be?
It's about 2 miles,
2
I
miles,
think.
yep, that's correct.
From one end to the other.
And understand right now we're a little ahead of schedule, is that right?
I hope so.
For the road construction, I feel like we're at least on schedule.
Nobody's going to go on the record saying we're ahead of schedule.
That's probably one of the things you don't ever want to say on any construction project. It's just like instant karma.
Yeah, I got you.
It's kind of like you'll always hear me say, weather permitting.
Yeah. Okay, so item 2 then is really about just approving this $27,833.25.
I would say it's both.
bid.
It's the approval of the
Okay.
$111,375 for the original contract amount, and then the additional for the change order amount. Yep, to award that contract to Connors and then approve the change order.
Okay, so council, we'll need a motion that covers both of those bases, to award the bid to Connors and then to approve the change order as well. So is there a motion to that effect? And then we'll see if there's further discussion.
I'll make a motion that we award the contract and approve the proposed change order.
And, yeah, and Stephen, if you would, please state those amounts too.
Oh, I didn't write it down. It was 111,000?
For the original contract, $111,375.
Okay.
And then for the change order, it's $27,833.25.
All right. Well, then I make a motion that we award the contract of $111,375 and approve the proposed change order for $27,833.25 to Connors Construction.
Okay, we've got a motion, a second to that effect. Any other questions?
I just have a question. Sorry, I got
You bet.
here late.
It's okay.
You okay?
But this is budgeted for, correct? Or what is it? How are we?
It's in the TIF money.
Okay.
It's in the bond package.
Okay. That's my only question. Thank you.
Any other questions, anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Is that all you got tonight? You got more?
I think that's all I got, but I'll stick around.
Okay. To item 3 is to hold a public hearing on a preliminary layout design for the Hahn project located between North Main and Highway 317. So, again, before we open the public hearing, we'll let Mr. Olson and anybody else from staff comment on what we got before us. So, Mike?
Mayor, members of council, trying to get used to this computer stuff. They've changed it since I was here last. This project, as you can see, looking at, hold on, make sure this thing's on. So you look at it, Angie, can you dim the lights, please? Just a hair. If you notice, this right here is, we did an overlay, so this is 317 to kind of show everybody, give them some reference points. This is Navajo Trail, Laurel Lane, Ash. This is on the other side, Crockett. This is the Alamoan area. So what this is just a preliminary design of what they are wanting to put in there, lots wise, streets. As you can see, the different streets in there. If I'm not mistaken, right offhand, it's 120. I'm not. Is it 100 what?
17.
117. So there's 117 lots on there. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, there were quite a few comments on drainage. Another issue that was brought up was school traffic with the kids and the buses and all that stuff. One of the things that was mentioned at the meeting was the engineers, the city's engineers and the developer's engineers will get together and figure out the drainage issue and all that, because I don't know how that works out. Those were the main items from what I've taken, was the drainage issues from everywhere with all the flooding that's gone over the years. Other than that, that's all that I have written down.
So where are we in the process? The preliminary plat's been presented to the city.
It's not even, it's, the plat has, what this is just kind of like we did with the park subdivision and with the ranch that we did with Walt Strickland on his project. This is just a preliminary design layout showing what they are wanting to put on that piece of property. The formal plat has not been submitted yet. This is just the design layout and everything. The engineers still have to get together on water and sewer and drainage and all of that stuff. This is just a basic, y'all look at the design, if there's any changes that need to be made or not. The Planning and Zoning Commission, they said they didn't have enough information, and that's all they said, is they didn't have enough information. So they didn't go into detail on that, so I'm not 100% sure what more information they needed, as we were just presenting a layout, not the water, the sewer, and all that, which the city of McGregor's engineers and their engineers will get together, and city staff will look at and review to make sure it meets our criteria. And I've got, this is the, like I said, this is the overlay. That is, so when I looked at the design, this is phase one, and the developers are here, John and Justin Hahn. But you can see that dashed line, kind of that cut line right there. If I'm not mistaken, this is all of phase one, the bottom half, and then phase two, hold on, that's phase two. So there's that defining line, kind of runs right there, right before you get to Main, what we call North Main Street, and this is all of phase two.
Do we have those maps?
You should have them in your packets.
The only thing that looks a little different are the gray areas.
So the little gray areas, what you're seeing on that, the gray areas are comments from the engineers, like little, that meet, there's another page that shows radiuses and all that, and that's what we couldn't get them to come out. We couldn't pull them out from their program, so that's why you see the little gray areas. There's another section, if you go back to, let's see if I can get back to it. Okay, so all those gray areas, see all these numbers right here that you can't see?
Yeah.
That's what the little gray hashtags are. That's what those are. They all correspond back to that table to tell you what that radius is, or what that measurement is, or what that degree of angle is. And it's hard to see on this without us blowing it way, way up.
So talk to us, Mike, about how do you get in and out of this thing?
So if you go back, so I'm going to go back 2 slides. So if you look right here, this is New Windsor Parkway. There's an entrance right here, pretty much direct from there. If I'm not mistaken, from what I've been told, they did get a TIA. Is that right, John?
Yes.
So they did get a TIA, and TxDOT did approve them to have an entrance right here. So you can come in here, come all the way around Main, come up. There's an entrance right here off the old McGregor Crawford Road that comes in also, and there's one down here just north of Laurel Lane. I say north. Yeah, that's right. Just north of Laurel Lane that comes in. So there's an entrance there. There's an entrance here. Now, the city will have to get and figure out how we're going to control this intersection right here, because it actually makes a T. Where North Main comes up and tees into this road that comes out and comes across. But I'm sure we'll get with the engineers and everybody and figure that
It's
out.
going to be an all-way stop.
Correct.
Yes.
I wasn't privy to that, so I wasn't gonna do it. This was, so you can see, there's 1 entrance, 2 entrances, 3 entrances, there's 4 entrances into that.
So where's the fourth one? I see.
There's 1 right here.
Okay, so
One.
say one right here. Talk streets to me.
Okay, so this is ESU, or ECU, the church,
Yeah,
that's it, right next to it. There's 1 right there. The church sits right here.
yeah,
So there's 1 entrance.
okay.
Second entrance is gonna be right here on Main.
Where North Main turns back
North
to
Main
the
turns
west.
and goes west the back way.
Mhm.
Third entrance is gonna be up here on Old McGregor Crawford Road, right before you get to the city limit line. And then the 4th entrance is right here off of 317 on New Windsor Parkway.
The number of units you have, each phase needs to have 2. Ingress and egress at least.
Correct.
You know, one of the concerns I heard coming out of the P and Z, I know for a fact, had to do with the size of the lots. I think we had all been told, as rumors come about, that they were all gonna be 1-acre lots, and obviously you can, although it's hard to see, there are a lot of half-acre lots and that sort of thing, and so I know there's a concern about density. And again, that's just what I know to be one of the issues, and so maybe the developer or somebody can address whether that's an issue or not, why you don't see it as an issue. I know it was to the P and Z though.
I know when this first came before us, the plan was, because the developer and the city had to figure out water and sewer capacity. On how many meters could we actually sit, how much water capacity did we have, and Walker Partners did that study on it, on how many meters could we fit in that area with the water lines and everything that were in place to still suffice that, and that number was 120. And if I'm not mistaken, they were between half-acre and 3/4 acre lots. They were never, from my memory, they were never 1-acre lots. They were half-acre to 3/4 acre lots, just depending. But we had told them, if I'm not mistaken, 120 was the max number of meters that we could get on that piece of property, according to Walker Partners' calculations on that project.
And so we've got 117 proposed.
That is correct. And I don't know the exact sizes, that they can answer that, because I'm trying to read little print. I guess I'm getting older. That's why my wife's sending me to the eye doctor tomorrow.
Sewer, I know we talked about this last time, Kevin, but for everybody's memory, tell us about the sewer, what will be proposed.
I'd be asking Jacob. He's our city engineer.
Yeah, all the sewer, all of this flows, all the sewer that would be produced by this subdivision would flow towards the north lift station. And so currently, well, I guess it was 2014, I believe, that lift station was reconstructed, and additional capacity was added there. But a good majority of the city does flow to that lift station, and so what Mike is referring to is the calculations and stuff is more dependent on the number of wastewater connections that the city could allow, and based on the pumping capacity at that lift station, we came up with that 120 connection number.
So 120 for both water and sewer.
Yes, sir. Again, it was more driven on the sewer.
I got you. And so the question tonight is this public hearing on the layout design.
That's all it is.
Yes.
It's just a preliminary. If there's, before the developer goes in and starts bidding out where we're gonna put water lines and sewer lines and all of that, the layout of the way it looks right now, the way the lots are, where the streets are, stuff of that, once they get the approval on that and the blessing on that, then they can go back to their engineers and say, okay, everything's good, or we need to change this, and that might change the direction of a way a pipe needs to run, a size of a pipe, depending on that. We started bringing you the preliminary drawings so that y'all could see the layout before they get the final stamp on this is how our water and sewer and drainage flow is gonna go. Now, your engineer gets with our engineer, hash out, make sure everything works right. If it meets our codes and our standards, then the city comes back and says, okay, but nothing is approved. The final plat will not be approved until all public improvements have been approved, installed, and inspected.
So when would be the appropriate time then to address this question about drainage? Because one of these sheets in here, starts talking about drainage.
The drainage will be when the review between our city engineer, Walker Partners, and their engineer, they'll handle all that, because when talking with Jed, the city does have a drainage plan in place, and that's where the engineers get involved. I'm not knowledgeable enough on the drainage stuff, so we let the engineers handle that.
Jacob, you know if you guys at Walker have been involved at all?
We have, I mean, again, the city has asked us to analyze the water and wastewater. As far as drainage goes,
Yeah.
no, we have not been involved.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about
Yeah,
specifically.
sorry, no. As far as the drainage goes, no, we have not been involved. But as Mike mentioned, the city does have a stormwater management policy that lays out criteria as far as the intensity of the storm, that everything has to be designed to, and detained in a detention pond, and 100-year conveyance flow paths, stuff like that.
Basically has to comply like everything else with FEMA regulations. You can't let the water go faster than it was going off before. That's been in place since the mid-'70s. I've never seen drainage be an issue on a new subdivision. Just, you can't let it be. If you do, you're in violation of federal law, so. They've got a pretty good handle on that. And that one, as I recall, it actually lends itself pretty well because the farmer had already had the contour in there, very similar to the situation we had in the parks. The contours were essentially already there. Very little adjustment to be made. They're gonna have a pretty good sized detention area, I'm sure.
When would traffic studies come into effect?
They've already done one. They did TxDOT required them to do a traffic study because they wanted to exit off onto a state highway. And that's where TxDOT had them do their traffic study, was Highway 317 right there at New Windsor. And that was to tell them if they needed to put a deceleration lane or an acceleration lane or anything like that. And from looking at this design, TxDOT did not require that from this design. So I guess they felt that didn't need to happen, an acceleration or deceleration.
So there'd be no changes to 317?
This will tie right into New Windsor Parkway, so it'll be a stop sign on both sides like it is right now. And I can't speak for the future, but looking at this, and then you might end up in time see a traffic light there at
Well, I was
New
just
Windsor
thinking-
317.
I was just thinking even about a turn lane if you're headed north, headed towards Crawford and turning in to the subdivision, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their traffic study, you might, like I said, John and them here, they had
just
it.
didn't see, when they did the traffic study, they didn't see enough traffic to warrant one.
Would you have
That's
100?
what TxDOT came up
10,
with.
17 homes are very
Well, but they're not all coming in and out at the same time.
Yeah, no, I know.
And a lot of the stuff going towards town is probably gonna turn and go down Main, just like it has. But I mean, the TIA is done by the standards that TxDOT requires, and TxDOT is the one who says what needs to happen on the road. We don't have any jurisdiction there.
They got
Exactly.
Let's tell you what, at this time, let's open up the public hearing, and I'm sure that'll stir some more questions. So, at this time, it is 7:03. Hang on, Mike, I should ask you, is there anything else you want to tell us before?
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just putting this back here.
Okay. All right, so it's 7:04. The public hearing is open. And again, anybody is free to speak. We just ask that you'd come to the mic so it's recorded. That's the only reason the mic is up, because now we have these truly public hearings. The only way you can, that it becomes public is if you have the mic. There's nobody on there that says number 3. So, yeah, I don't know if anybody signed up specifically. It would be under items 3 or 4. And specifically to that, I see Mr. Hahn, the developer, but anybody from the public want to speak on this item? Yeah, sure, you bet. And just, if you would, Sherry, please come to the microphone, and I think we know who you are, but some of the public will know, maybe those who are listening online.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not signed up, please tell us your name.
Well, I'm signed up for number 5, I believe.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm Sherry Shadoan. I'd like to ask the developers, is this going to be a inclusive development, possibly with a homeowners association or something of that nature? Okay. So are you looking at like a community center, that sort of thing? Anything inclusive in that development?
Parks.
Yeah, parks, that sort of
and
thing?
We want to have houses between $400,000 and $650,000,
Right,
2,200 to 3,000 square feet.
okay. Yeah, I can see there might be a market for that with the coming businesses, yes, I can see that. But I was just curious, if it's going to be inclusive, I think that's important to know that it's going to be inclusive.
There'll be some sort of park space in there for the neighborhood, yes.
Is it going to be a homeowners association?
Yes.
There will be.
There will be, it's not gonna be strenuous as
It's not going to be
higher
high
end
priced.
homes, but we don't
In other
want
words,
anybody
not going to tell
parking-
you you can't plant pansies in your driveway,
Can't
that sort
park
of
your
thing?
boat in the street, you know. keep
That
your-
sort of thing, okay.
That sort of thing. But
Okay.
we want it to be farmy, ranchy, hometown type.
Well, I was just wondering if it's going to be inclusive with the homeowners association, possibly with the other recreational type of activities and that sort of thing in there. Okay? And you answered yes to all questions?
Yes.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Sure. What else? Yes, Debbie.
I'm Debbie Herring, and I had 2 concerns last week, and they were for my neighbors across the street because, well, they're not across my street, but across 317, and how they had flooded. Many times when I would go to school, and we had had a really big rain, I had to stop. And I'm north of all of this, and the constable or the sheriff would be in front of my house because the water was completely over 317. So flooding is a huge concern. I know Ms. Westbrook was here last week, and she was talking about when, James Daniels' house was flooded, and she'd been there 50-something years, and just the water going down Crockett. It has been taken care of now, pretty much. But there's been times when I've come close to Angela's house, and the water is just raging. I don't think anyone realizes that. And also the traffic in the mornings. I do not know how they're going to get that done. And me personally, you better be ready when I go home on 317, you better be ready to go to the ditch because people are not watching, and there's several times we've nearly been rear-ended. And so those are concerns now that I have about the development. Also, is that going to affect my water from Central Bosque? Because I'm the last one on the line, and sometimes it's just a trickle. It's much better than it used to be. I keep my jugs full of water so that, we have them. So I'm just wondering about the water supply. That one affected me, but the other two affected the people across 317 and the school traffic and all. And if you're not there at the right time, you're not going to see it. So that's just my 3 concerns.
Debbie, outside of the concerns that you just mentioned, do you have any concern about, just to make sure I understand, the use of that property being turned into houses? I mean, you're not against necessarily the development of it, you're talking about the concerns that development leads to?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm more concerned with that, like the people across the 317, like in Herring Heights, that area, that, I don't know what it's called now, but if you're old, you know what it is, that area. And then I hope they keep things cleaned up because it will go on my land. And as I was coming in tonight, I saw all this debris that's in the land that was sold for development, and it was from across the street. So there's trash that blows over. And, I know I'm not in the city limits, but I've been here a long time, and I love the community. I get concerned about the schools and the kids getting good educations, even though I'm not teaching anymore. Those are my concerns with bringing that many people in. We need to think about those kind of things because, to me, those are important things in our community. I'm not upset that they're going to build. I hope they have nice big lots and big parks and stuff like that. That would be fine. But you've also taken someone's livelihood. So, anyway, but it's not my land to sell, and so, anyway. Is that, did that kind of answer?
Did, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Who else we got on item? Yes, Ms. Smallreedy.
Hello, I'm Connie Smallreedy. My husband works the land. It's taken our livelihood. I'm not really for it, but I can see it. It's coming. It's coming in all phases everywhere you look. My concern is the water. If you've worked that land long enough, you know it floods tremendously, mainly on Old McGregor Road. My husband and Boyd's dad built berms to keep from flooding the Matizas, the Haynes, and I'm not sure who the new residents are right next to the old Matiza house. If you go around, Mr. Miramontes, yes, Miramontes, he lives right there. It floods terribly bad where they're looking at putting roads in. It doesn't, the engineers, I don't care how many engineers you get together, unless you've seen it, lived it, learned it, that land will flood. And we work with the soil conservation at the NRC out of Waco with the Farm Service Agency, and it is in a flood zone. And we are able to make good hay off of it because it floods until this year when there's no water. So that is my concern. If they're putting detention ponds up there, it's going to rush back into Boyd and Debbie's land. My husband works that land. Who's paying for the crop when it's destroyed? The developer? No. The city? They're going to say no. It leaves us in a real big bind. So we need to make real sure that any of the water issues do not destroy the properties of the people that have been there 50 years or the people that work the farmland. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. Who else? What do we have? Hi, Sheila.
Hi, I'm Sheila Hain, and my parents live at the last house where Indian Trails is on the corner, the oversized lot. And again, the other night we were here expressing concerns about the flooding. My parents have the berms at the back of their property. When that subdivision goes in, those berms are going to leave. No one's going to want a $400,000 and something, $600,000 home with a berm in their backyard. So I'm concerned because the other night they showed us the natural flow and drainage, and they were like, oh yeah, it goes this way, the retention pond is going to be there. That's not the only area where it floods. It's not just that one where the natural flow goes, so that is a huge concern. The other concern is the traffic. I understand the study was done across from New Windsor, but if you look, that's the only one outage out of that whole subdivision. The other three are on North Main. Did anybody look at that one little road from North Main onto 317? Everybody's going to be merging onto 317. That's how you're going to have to get into town, get into Waco, get anywhere. So what's going to happen there with all of that traffic? Right now, if you hit it when everyone's going to school, you sit there and there is a lot of traffic coming. So that is a huge concern, is to look at that area, not just what's it like across from Windsor, okay? Then, like Debbie said, our resources, like do we have enough water pressure, sewer? If I understood correctly, that other than just bringing in sewer lines, the infrastructure is in place, is that correct?
The infrastructure is in place by the developer.
Okay, but I mean, like, what does that entail? Because that new house that just came, they were originally told they had to go on a septic system because what was there from Indian Trails couldn't handle anymore. And that they would have to wait until something happened with the new subdivision. They ultimately, yeah, they ultimately got on. They ultimately got on. But they were originally told that it couldn't handle. So I'm just asking, like, what is the infrastructure that's coming in? Is it adequate? And I mean, I know the studies and I know what it says, but what does that do to the water pressure? What does that do to a lot of the existing stuff? I think it just, I mean, I understand doing the studies, but, you know.
Are you talking about, Sheila, when you talk about the traffic study and where everybody's gonna merge from the south part of North Main onto 317?
Like where you turn off to go to the hub?
Kind of tricky.
Right, right, where the park road is, and that's where everything, because that's where 3 of those outages are going to feed unless a few of them do go through to Windsor. And so I think that needs to be addressed more than just backing up and going, oh, it's fine coming out of Windsor onto 317. And like I said, 317 is only 2 lane, one each way, and you're adding a whole bunch of traffic to it. That is going to pose some problems. So I think that needs to be addressed, not just we complied with the state study and we did it way back here, which I personally don't think is going to be the main in and out for everybody. So I think that needs to be addressed. And then, you know, just in general too, I mean, I'm not opposed to McGregor growing, but I just want to make sure that we have enough community resources for all of the quick development we're doing. You know, like our road system, we know we're slowly working on, but needs a lot of work. Do we have enough police service to address everybody? Is our fire department adequate to handle all of the influx of new homes and stuff we're getting? Is our water sewer infrastructure strong enough without having to add more cost and pass on more improvements to citizens in general? So, you know, I'm not saying I don't want to see McGregor grow, but I don't want it to cost us a whole bunch of money to bring it in. So those are my concerns.
There was a Miss Dyson had signed up originally. Miss Dyson? Yes, ma'am. Did you?
I'm not gonna bring it up.
Okay, okay.
I was told I needed to talk to Jacob.
Okay.
Check, okay.
Let's see. Mr. Hahn, I see that you have signed up for items 3 and 4, so you're welcome to speak as well and address anything you've heard.
We came in front of Kevin and Walker Partners over a year ago to talk about this. Friends of us that have been in this area for a long time offered it to us after a big, like D.R. Horton and stuff, wanted to come in and put a big influx of homes in that area. I'm a builder out of Killeen, Belton area, and this is our first development. We want to build things the right way, do things the right way, and we understand we're coming into a small community, and we don't want to come in and just tear it apart. That's not our heart, that's not our goal, that's nothing that we want to do. We want to come in and put $400,000 to $650,000 houses in here, create a better tax base, create a good product, and we're going to do everything that we can possibly do to fix the water issues, to fix the drainage issues. I mean, we can't, I'm not an engineer, and I'm just going to depend on the city engineer and CP&Y, which was recommended from the city engineer to us, to do that for you and to make it better. I don't want to steal anybody's livelihood. I don't want to steal, I don't want to mess the schools up. I just want to come in and put a good development in, a good tax base for the city, and hopefully grow with you. So that's what I have. If y'all have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer anything.
Yeah, I don't know what we do right now, but
Okay.
we may, but I appreciate the comments.
All right, thank you.
So Kevin, Mike, if we approve tonight a preliminary layout, what's the rest of the process by which it would give us as a council any future oversight? I mean, just curious if it's approved tonight, what else comes back to us?
Well, it's kind of like, then the developer will have to decide he's gonna begin spending real money.
Yeah.
And that's whenever the rubber meets the road. I guess you'd see a preliminary plat that would have the preliminary drainage numbers and calcs on it. Your engineers will go over their engineers' work, and they'll have their arguments done, and they'll be able to answer questions, either one of them, as to what the drainage will look like, what's been done to make sure that the water's handled. If there's an off-site berm that needs to be dealt with, I mean, any drainage structures that are in place already somewhere else, I'm not sure would ever be moved. I'm not sure why, but I'm not an engineer either. But they would also start spending money on deciding where the water and sewer would go, and do those, I guess they drill down further into, instead of a 30,000-foot view, you'd get about a 10,000-foot view. And then when that all gets ready to go, then everything starts.
But it comes back to the council before a final plat is approved, and we would have
Yeah, you'd see the final
opportunity.
plat.
You'll get
Yeah,
a preliminary,
some kind of plan.
and then you'll get the final. But the preliminary won't come back until the engineers get together and figure out your drainage, your water, your sewer, all those issues.
And the city generally doesn't accept the improvements until they're built and in the ground and working
And inspected.
and inspected. So you've been through this very same process with the parks. You're about to go through another piece on that because he's changing it up a little bit on the preliminary. You've seen that. It's a long process. It's an expensive process. And
when you say expensive, it's not expensive to the city. We're not carrying these costs, are we?
no, it'd be expensive to the developer, and that's where he recovers his cost, is through
Yeah,
selling the lots
sure.
and building houses.
Just want to make sure that we're not covering infrastructure costs and that sort of thing. I mean, I know that there's,
I don't know if there's any overage in any lines that would even be possible, but there's a possibility we would participate on some developments if they only need an 8-inch line and we need a 10
Yeah.
for our future, but I don't see that here. I don't know.
and for example, once Walker Partner digs in and says, you know what, it looked like 120 meters was available, but now it's only 100. I guess at that time, someone has to decide whether they're going to cut it back or jump out.
Yeah, I think they're pretty safe with their estimates.
Okay. And what actually takes place regarding the drainage? I mean, what is left to be done? And Jacob, maybe that's a question you can answer.
I mean, they'll still have to analyze, they'll delineate the drainage basin, they'll look at all the design storms that are laid out in your stormwater management policy, and they'll have to size the detention ponds, as Kevin was mentioning earlier, such that so they'll have to come up with the flow for a pre-development condition, so the way the land is now, and then they'll come up with a flow for a post-development condition, the way it'll be, the amount of impervious cover, pavement, houses, stuff like that. And they'll compare those, and the amount, basically they'll be held to only discharge the amount of water that was pre-development, and they'll have to detain the rest.
Okay.
Yep.
So you can't run off more water than what the land was already running off.
Correct.
Because that's, again, one of the problems is, and we fixed that years ago, was when it started heading south and turned under 317, it ran into the railroad track area back there and created a mess, caused us to have to cut out streets around the Alamo area. It was a mess. And so the idea is the drainage system would have to be approved such that at least additional water would not be running through that area, which it probably could not hold.
Correct.
They gotta put their heads together and figure out how
Yeah.
big a pond we need.
Right, I
Exactly
understand.
right.
And
I got you.
that's the simple answer.
I got you.
You gonna put ducks on your pond? Just kidding.
Council, first of all, the public hearing is still open, so we're still talking about things. Yeah, I see, Boyd, I think your hand was first, so.
No, go ahead, Boyd.
You go ahead.
No, I'm not living
ma'am.
in that section. You
Um,
don't answer my question.
I'm Boyd Herring, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse to death on this runoff and everything, but as was pointed out on this, the northwest side, unless you have seen it and lived it, you don't understand how much water comes down just that part right there and comes into Larry Haynes. So I don't know what can be done about that, but there is a significant amount of water that comes through there and comes off of those berms that were put in. And from this preliminary plat, I can't tell if the original waterways that are there today, if they're still there. I see what I think may be it, but I can't tell if they're, okay, so that's the same one. But the water that comes off of this, off of the North Main, which is, I'm assuming is still a county road at this point, comes down behind Larry Haynes' house, and then it goes around and flows back onto North Main. That's the reason there is grass there instead of crops. So there's not a waterway as it is, but it is a significant amount of water. And if people were to buy lots on that road right now as it is, I wouldn't want to buy a lot right there. It's just going to flood. Some of the other places I have seen where they go in and they're going to have a significant drainage problem. They've got curbs, guttering, they've got underground waterways to accommodate that runoff. When you add this many houses, and again, I'm not against the development, but it just needs to be done right to protect the people on the other side of 317. When you have this much additional concrete, asphalt, rooftops, that water coming off that doesn't have any place to go anymore. So it is additional water, and I'm no engineer, but there's going to be more water flowing through there than what's coming today because of just the structures. So what is in place to accommodate that? I don't know if it's going to be, like I say, the curbs and gutterings, and that's all to be hammered out later on. But even though that problem doesn't affect me because I live on the north side, it is going to affect somebody on the other side of 317. And it's a mess. Everybody has seen that. So the natural waterways that are there, if they're going to stay there, it's not going to back up into my property. But again, I'm just thinking about the Hayneses and these people that are going to do that and the people across 317. So, and you bring up a point about the traffic survey that TxDOT did and said they don't need a turning lane. I've had experience with TxDOT. They're the same people who make Highway 84 70 miles an hour and the road coming from Moody to Crawford 75. You know, just because they say they don't need it, that doesn't mean it's not needed. Something. If you come off of 317 from the north into town and you want to turn left and head east on Windsor Road, you better be watching in your rearview mirror, because if you're not, you're going to get run over. Now you're going to put an intersection in there, and now you're going to have people turning both ways. If they just have stop signs, people get impatient. You're going to have traffic backing up. Again, I'm not against this, but there's potential problems coming. And if this is in the city limits, it's going to be left up to the city of McGregor Police to work these accidents and so forth that come at that intersection. So everybody sees on 317 when North Main meets 317, I can't imagine the traffic that's going to be coming in there. So you're talking about a stoplight
maybe a new Windsor in 317, there's going to be more traffic where North Main comes in there. So again, these are problems that I'm not in the city limits, but they're going to be there later on down the road. So and until the engineers get together and hash this out on the drainage portion of it, that is my biggest concern for the people who are downstream from that. So with that, you know, is it going to affect, you know, what I do? You know, my property is along that line there, so time will tell how that plays out. But anyway, thanks for letting me speak.
Doris?
Boyd almost answered all of them, so I'll just leave it.
Okay.
Cement won't absorb, so no worries.
Anybody else under item 3, public hearing? Okay, with that, at 7:29, the public hearing is closed. So that takes us to item 4, which is to discuss some possible action regarding a preliminary layout design for the Han project located between North Main and Highway 317. So council, at this time, it's now our turn to ask any other questions, make your own comments about it, and it's before us to take some action to see whether we'll go to the next step with this. So interested to hear what you have to say. I've got some thoughts too, so I'll go ahead.
I just have a question. So, TxDOT did the study, and my question is, though, as a city, can we request them to do something? Like, can we request that they put a light at a certain area or a turn-in lane?
TxDOT is required by federal law to do everything they do based on, what's the name? AASHTO standards, thank you, engineer, that were written by engineers many years ago. They get updated every year. And literally, if they do something that's not called for, like they think there needs to be a stoplight there, and they go put a stoplight there, but the AASHTO standards didn't require it, they're now making themselves liable for something that may happen there because the signal was put in place and it didn't need to be. I mean, it's called traffic warrants, or something that warrants the placement of a certain thing. It's a very similar standard for the turning lanes that you're talking about now. The traffic impact analysis tells them what they need to know that fits within that group of standards. And so, no, about the only thing we can do is change the speed limit inside the city limits, but it would have to be based on a similar study. Just like whenever they had 75 miles an hour on 84, I appreciate Boyd saying that one. And then they figured out that those standards really, there's so much, I guess, interrupting traffic coming onto that road that it doesn't sustain 75, so they dropped it to 70. But you can go 75 from here to Moody. That doesn't make sense to me either, but that's where it comes from.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and I guess that's
We can and have request studies. That's how you got the traffic light down here at Johnson Drive. At the same time they did that one, we asked them to do the one at Blue Bonnet. It didn't quite make it, but it will.
Yeah, because I know a few years back, I think it was right around when they changed Highway 84 to 75.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten in an accident and there was no turn-in lane, because, you know, we have them houses that are just kind of sporadic on 84, right after a train.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody rear-ended me because I had to wait for somebody to turn. And anyway, I was just asking because after that, I saw about 2 more accidents, and then I noticed that they went down to 70, and then they actually closed that, where you can't even turn right there anymore. You had to go into one that turned off. So I guess I asked that question because I was just wondering if we could request that, because I mean, it took me getting in an accident and 2 other people after that I had noticed on Highway 84. And we already have concerns with the intersection at 84 and 317. Again, I was just seeing as a city, we could do something, but I understand what
can-
you're saying too.
We can request all day long.
Okay.
The North Main, where it comes into 317 is concerning.
That is concerning. I agree.
I mean, because you have
There's 5.
5 points. It's sometimes tricky. I mean, your head's on a swivel when you're there and there's hardly any traffic. You got to be watching everywhere. So that is a concern. I would hope it can be overcome, but it is a concern.
I mean, I'm for McGregor growing, and, you know, I'm sure you guys would do a great job. Again, I guess traffic is just one of our biggest things, and we have school buses right there too on,
Both sides, both roads,
yeah.
on 317 and on that whole property where the buses.
And then, of course, you know, we hear drainage. I just would hope that you guys could come up with something for that.
We spent $12,000 with them at the engineers and the city's request, and they laid it out and did it all over, I think, a week. And we got all the information back, and, you know, we gave it all to TxDOT, and we were at their mercy. I mean, nobody has any control of that other than them.
And to be honest with you, North Main's gonna have to grow. It's gonna have to get bigger, at this point right now with nothing in there probably. You know,
It needs a turn.
I think it was, from what I heard, it was more of a 10 years down the line, probably would need an improvement, is what they told us. But at this time, they didn't see that it meets requirements.
I can see that too, I guess.
These are all single-family homes?
Yes, sir.
Repeat the question.
These are all single-family homes?
And then I have an well, y'all mentioned y'all put what in your backyard for the flooding?
There's just some dirt
Berms.
berms. Where it's just built up on the
You just put
property
dirt
line
berms,
to channel
that's
the
what-
water.
Oh, okay.
She's talking about behind her parents.
Yeah.
Like on the fence line to keep it, because prior to or when they had worn or already flushed, their land would flood. And it used to be on septic a long time ago, you couldn't even flush the septic. I mean, it was a huge problem. And so we at least came in and they, took dirt and just did some old school, just, dirt berms to channel that water. So at least went to the ditch. So
There's gonna be a very large detention pond down at the bottom, at the north, or the south ends of this property. A very
The
large.
water's gonna affect us before it gets there.
She's talking
Yeah,
See
she
where
lives,
that other trail is, that oversized slot on the end?
If it needs detention there, and the engineers feel like that's what's needed, they'll probably have to address that.
That's what we're talking about right here.
Those 3 homes right there.
Yeah, it may need a pond there,
or swell to take it,
Swell.
to take it out. But that's why they get paid the big bucks.
yeah.
But your original map says.
and it
that-
is all curb and gutter type of development.
So, look, council, here's my thought, and everybody else can chime in. The reason I asked the question about where does it go from here, because I don't think we will get answers to all of these questions until we decide to take the next step. And so we have the basic question of, do we want to see potentially some really nice houses come to McGregor? It's something that we've talked about for a long time. If they do what they say they're gonna do, then these would be the biggest lots and the biggest homes in McGregor, period. I mean, some of the nicest houses around, and I appreciate a farmer who's been working the land forever, come from a long line of them. But on the other hand, this property belongs to someone else, and we live in the great state of Texas, and if it's legal to do, you can do what you want to with your property. If you want to sell your property and do something different with it, then that's your right to do so. And so if the landowners want to sell their property and we find a really high quality and valuable use for it that benefits our community, then that's part of our job as well. So my thought is, we at least go forward to the next step. That's why I asked the question I did, is what happens next? What additional oversight do we have? So that we can make sure that we get these questions answered. Get questions answered about drainage, get questions answered about police department. I'd be interested to hear what James has to say about it. Maybe we make the request to TxDOT to say, hey, we want you to take another look at this. We get a report back. But we're not going to know the answers to these questions unless we take the next step. And we'll have the opportunity to continue to have some oversight. But I think personally, that's what I think we ought to do tonight, is vote to take the next step. It'll come back to us, and we'll get these questions answered, we'll get it done right. And if we don't, then we can kill it at a later day.
Let me ask you, what was the price range you said for those houses that you?
$400,000 to $650,000.
Okay, and
Roughly almost $1 million in tax.
Okay, and you said around about, what was the, how many was it,
17.
117?
Right, and 22 to 3,000 square foot homes.
So you to even think about or come to the city of McGregor to build those, so you feel like that the way McGregor's going, you would have the potential to fill those people buying those houses, right? Surely you wouldn't.
I do. I believe
surely you
that-
wouldn't come in.
No, I believe that you have a wonderful school district, and you're gonna, people are moving. In Belton, Texas, where I'm at, Salado, Texas, we have people come in from Austin because they can work from home, because they care about their school district in Belton and Salado. From my understanding from people around here, y'all have a really good school district, and so does Crawford. So I think you're gonna get those people that care about their families and want to give them a great school district, and still be able, they can work from home and not have to go and transport all over Texas. You know, I think you're gonna get a lot of the Waco community come here, things of that nature. And it's, in my calculations, I'm thinking $750,000 to $1 million in tax revenue a year, you know.
I look online at houses y'all have on the market for sale, you don't have it.
That's a
Nothing
fact.
for sale in there.
That's a fact.
And so that tells me right there that the need is here.
What's weird is for decades, we've been telling the world, hey, look at us, we're McGregor, we've got a lot to offer. Our business owners in town, they want more business and everything, and all of a sudden, it's like the world went, hey, like, all at once. It's just kind of weird. It's just different.
Is this in the Blue Bonnet Water District or the?
It's ours. The other folks out there serve, areas are served by Central Boston.
Yeah, that's what
We're the last one online. It shouldn't impact that at all. We're separate systems. I would not want to be the very end of the line on anybody's line.
So were these all supposed to be on 1 acres?
No, there were various. I mean, if you look at the entire subdivision, it's on, it ranges from, I think, half-acre lots to over 1 acre lots.
And we've also agreed to convey what was outside of the city limits to the city for better tax revenues and things like that too. Because some of this land is not in the city limits.
In the streets, do we have like a minimum width
Yes.
that we, okay?
The city has minimum design standards that what was it, about 5 years ago, Jacob? That we came up with that talks about street width, street heights, the crown of the road, how the curb goes in, how the, pretty much everything that deals with infrastructure within a subdivision that has to be designed to those. So I know we do have those. Those were forwarded to the developer and to CPNY, because I've been in contact with them, and they've done other projects, so they have those design standards, and that's what they're designing all. When you get the set of plans, that'll probably be about that thick with all the specs, it'll have our standards or their road standards. depending on whether it's a primary road, an artery coming off of a primary. There's some other terms that, I'm sorry, I'm not well versed in, but there's different types of roads, and of those roads, there's different widths depending on what they are. They will, looking at them, they'll be wider than what you saw in Navajo Trail.
Okay.
It has to be. That's
Yes,
not good.
that spec has widened tremendously since what was put into Navajo Trail.
And that's why I asked, because somebody did they were concerned with width, and that's why I was just asking. So, I mean, because you have what is it, Willoway, you've
Yes.
got all of them in that area where, and
They're narrow.
hey, we have people who work in construction, and I get that, but, I mean, it's hard to get in. a
If you
street
go,
like
if you
that.
go to the park subdivision, those streets were pulled out of our design standards.
The
So
new-
that,
the
the
new
new part in phase one, if you look at those streets, widths and that, those design came out of the design standards that were established prior to that subdivision being built.
Mhm. And that, I've driven all in.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else? Council? Is there a motion on item 4?
Move we approve the preliminary layout design for the HON project.
There's a motion and a second on item 4. Any other questions or comments? So I have a question. If it passes tonight, what's the timing before we get to the preliminary plat stage? How long would it take to get back to us when the engineers and
They're telling us somewhere around October.
October?
And that probably won't be when it comes to the council. That'll be when they get plans to Walker Partners and the city for the city and city staff to review to make sure that everything is good to go, that it meets all of our standards. And then after that, then the preliminary will come to y'all so that y'all can see. And I'll make sure when that presentation, you'll see road widths and stuff like that. We'll make sure that stuff's in your packets so that you can see that kind of stuff.
On my timeline from our engineer, the submittal to the city and TxDOT of the final plat is end of August. The address and comments for resubmittal is the end of September. And it looks like the city council meeting for all that, if everything were to work out, is middle of October on the 10th. I guess would be that city council meeting. That's preliminary.
And that's preliminary, that's not final.
Yeah.
Final doesn't come to you until everything's done, approved, and that, none of that gets signed off. So basically, no lots will be sold, anything like that, until that section is done. And that's why I was telling you the phases. Like I said, phase one is all this down here, from basically Navajo Trail down, and phase two is what's north.
And they do come to us in phases, right? Or-
No, they'll present the whole project to you.
Okay.
Build-wise, it'll go in phases,
Okay.
on the construction side of it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on item 4. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, thank you for everyone who showed up tonight. You heard kind of what the timing is, so be watching the notices, and we'll be watching along with you as we all learn more about the project. So to the Hans, I think you got some work to do, so we do appreciate your interest, and we look forward to working with you and hope we get these questions resolved and we can all move forward as one big family. We'll see.
Yes, sir. We sure
Okay.
look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
That takes us to item 5. That's to hold a public hearing on preliminary layout design for the elementary project located on 3rd Street where the old elementary was once located. Okay, Mike.
Hold on, I gotta make sure this thing works. Okay. I finally found the name of this. It is called Bluebonnet Village, Miss Sloan. just to let you know.
PX Chickens Elementary.
Yeah, I had Old Elementary because everybody knows it like that because I didn't know the name of it yet. So this property is currently where the old H.G. Isabel correct?
PHGH.
Okay, that place was right there. Okay. The school had this piece of property. When I started in '09, they were just starting to tear it down. So it's been down a while. The school's had the property. It's been on the market 2 or 3 times. Finally, the school got put it back on the market. It was purchased. The plan is what you're seeing here, a new residential subdivision. It is actually a planned unit development because it's mixed use. It has townhomes in it. It has single-family residences in it. One of the stipulations of getting this piece of property was the old metal barn that everybody sees there right now. The purchaser, which is Mr. Eggett's, is going to demo that building and except for the tin, correct? All the I-beams, purlins in that are going to be donated to the school to build a bus barn at the school. That's part of the contract. After sitting down with Mr. Eggett's and everything, myself, Kevin had meetings with him. The plan is, as everybody knows, 2nd Street right here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of duplexes right here, and there's another set right here that was built by Troy Glasson back 4 or 5 years ago. Plan is, so currently 2nd Street dies right here. The plan is to continue 2nd Street in to where it ties into Patricia Circle. There's a little offset right there. It's basically just a straight run. So all these lots that you see down here are single-family residences. The lots here in the middle are single-family residences. The back, this will be an HOA. There will be a deed restriction that there will be no rear entrances off of these houses on this back street. That way, if there's additional parking that's needed, they can park up against that curb line that's right there. But starting from right here all the way around, these are going to be townhomes. Is what was recommended was townhomes. All the others are single family. The other thing that was noted at the meeting, and some people don't realize, is 3rd Street in that section right there between Tyler and Patricia Circle is really wide. The reason it's wide is some of that property is parking that was there for the school, that is actually part of the school property. So that's why if you drive down there right now, that right there is probably the curb line where it runs right straight through here. So you see all these sticking out a little further. The plan is, from talking with George and everything, is once their engineers, again, the engineers are going to get involved in this because the issues were parking, streets, and drainage, the water drainage, because again, everything flows right through here. When they purchased this big area back here, which is currently a hump, which was the old Southwest Cotton Belt Parkway Railroad. The plan is for that is to have this and turn that into a big old detention pond to where it'll catch the water flow from here, but it'll also catch water flow from Tyler, North Tyler, that flows through drainage channels that kind of sit right here, because currently water sits on both sides before it takes out down this and goes to out by home base, or not home base.
Water comes down Pierce and hits 3rd Street and goes right.
Yeah, it comes, you're right, it comes down Pierce and comes this way. And speaking with George and talking with him, his engineers, these 2 lots that you see right here on this end, those might end up being a secondary detention to where it hits that, then it weeps out, then it hits another detention back here. But the plan is to extend 2nd Street out all the way till it hits Patricia Circle. Again, the comments that from the meeting that we had were, how are the houses going to look? Water issue, is the drainage underground? Is it above ground? Curb and gutter. Again, they were informed. We don't know that. That's where the engineers come into play, and how they get it designed. One was the lot sizes. There was a little issue back here, and I don't know. Her first name is Maria. I don't know her last name. I'm not going to try that because I'll mess it up. Okay, there you go. She lives right here in this corner, but George, after the meeting, they talked, and because if you see the way these properties come out, her driveway's like right there. So they're working on that issue. The next slide's a little video to play of kind of what the townhomes will look like. This subdivision, the lots are a little bigger on the single family. So if you know what y'all did over there on Alamo and Travis, the same two builders are doing this subdivision.
Partnering with Doug.
They partner with Doug Walker, who's doing those. So they're doing this whole Doug will do the single family homes. George will do the back. Cassie, what do I got to do? Just go forward? Maybe. Do you do that? Can you do that? She's going to play it. So this is what's built on Alamo and Travis. Or Alamo, not Travis. Maybe. Okay. Nope, wrong one. Nope, nope, nope. Yep. Okay. The other thing that was talked when I talked with George, because I've met with him before the planning and zoning meeting on this, is you see these corner lots here? Some of them might be a little tight, so you might have, like what we did, or what he did on the fire department. You remember the old EMS property? How he had the duplex, and there was a single unit in the middle to make everything. That's kind of the same plan on this, if push comes to shove. Other than that, let's see, what else was it? Water pressure issues, that was brought up by a lady. The other issue that was brought up, one was, again, how it tied into Patricia Circle, and then, again, the drainage was the other big issue on that. And again, we told them, it's up to the engineers. They're going to tell us what needs, they're going to tell George what needs to be done.
Yeah, for years, that was the worst drainage spot in all of town. I mean, just not anything else even close to it. It was.
I do know there for a while when I was here, probably 10 years, we did have an issue, and a lot of it is downstream.
Yeah.
Where the culverts go underneath the streets.
Choked up.
They were so choked up with debris and then they started mowing it, cleaning those out. We had the Forestry Service help the city clean that out quite a bit as a joint project, and it helped out quite a bit. But like, again, George is here to talk about it if y'all have any question for him. They did recommend, well, Alex on the planning zone, he did have a question about parking, if there was any parking issues on any of George's stuff, and George said yes at first on the first one he did on by the Glory Land Church, but they've got that fixed with the fire lane, and people can, TxDOT's allowing people to park on the on the shoulder of 317, but ever since then, there hasn't been a parking issue yet on any of his other projects. And they did recommend approval of this project.
Yeah, I tell you what, Mr. Eggets, why don't you speak first about anything, so if there's any other questions, then,
Yeah, just, Mayor, Council, appreciate you taking the opportunity to hear us on it. As Mike indicated, we put a bid in on this about 2 years ago. The school system pulled it at that time and didn't sell it. Then they rebid it again this previous year, so we put another proposal and doubled the offer to the school system. And part of that agreement was that we would donate the structure on the location back to the bus, or back to the school system to build a bus garage. And then in addition to that, Doug had offered to set up a vocational school, or kind of a class with the students of the high school to introduce them to building and construction, and then also development. That was kind of my side, but Doug's kind of heading up that program for him. But he worked that out with, or that was in the agreement also with James Linneman. So, as Mike indicated, this year is basically the same thing we're doing over on, on Windsor Park. Same style of homes, same design, same quality of building and construction. Doug's intent is the same as well, but the lot sizes are bigger. We used the recommendation from the city to, originally we had it set up like a horseshoe without coming in off of 2nd Street, but based on the discussions we had with the city and Kevin and some of the other folks, that the original plan was to have, for the city, was to have 2nd Street come through, which actually may help us from a water standpoint, or water direction standpoint, because currently the way it's set up, everything goes to 3rd Street. So by taking some of it down 2nd Street, some of it down 3rd Street, we can mitigate some of the water volumes that are coming down there now. And I have seen the volumes as well. I mean, I think everybody realizes that it'll be a little bit of a challenge for us to do it. The biggest problem is that back corner lot, as Mike was saying. It's humped, so you got water that's trapped on one side of the hump and water that's trapped on the other side of the hump. Our intent is to turn that into, based on the engineer's agreement, which we'll get them to work out. But our intent will be to put that, or utilize that in its opposite form, and create more of a detention with a relief on it, like we did up on Windsor, to catch some of that water that comes off of there. And hopefully mitigate the downstream issues that they're currently having right now, or have had. So, and like I said, I've been out there when it rained, not necessarily this year, but before, and I have, I've seen how much water does flow down 3rd, so we're well aware of it, and we'll do our, do our due diligence to make sure that it's taken care of.
So George, touch on the parking. I know that's always an issue when you start putting houses like that, and then people say, well, I've only got 1 car, and then it's 2, and then, well, my kids are staying with me now, I got 3 and 4, and...
Yeah, and I want to be really clear, these are not duplexes, these are townhouses. So our whole strategy has been, since the beginning of construction, is to sell these as townhomes. So they're each individually owned, each unit, each half. And what it does is it creates ownership, number one. Our current ownership is about 70% ownership, 30%. We have some investors who like to buy them and rent them out. But overall, our purchase percentage are, first-time home buyers, especially retirees. We've got a bundle of retirees that are buying them. Because we keep them low maintenance, as you saw on the front of those other videos, that's all part of a homeowners association. So the homeowners association, we collect the dues. As we finish the projects, we turn that over to the homeowners, or to the homeowners. They set up their own board with a representative from the city on there for code enforcement. That's that, we end up donating or selling a lot to the city at the very end, which we're almost ready to do up here on Main Street. And we've accumulated about $35,000 in reserve for that homeowners association to make sure that they can maintain that. It's been maintained by us, or me personally, for the last year and a half as we finish the development. So that's how we do it. It seems to work well. We had a little bit of parking issue with people parking on the internal streets over here. So I addressed that through the fire department and the police department, and we turned it into a fire lane, which restricted anybody from parking on the sides of those roads. And they're limited to 2 vehicles. It's in their HOA agreement, it's in their, their code, and it's enforceable by, by us. So, we try to think of just about all the issues that can come up and, try to do our best to address them up front versus later on. So, and we've had, as of now, I oversee the homeowners association on Main Street on both sides, and we've had very little, if any, issues or complaints. We've had a few, dogs barking or something like that, but not from a quality
Okay, council, any
standpoint.
questions of Mr. Eggets before we turn it over to the public hearing?
I was just wondering, on West Second Street, are y'all gonna put that street in, or is the city? Do we
Yeah, I
know?
can kind of touch base. I know the question came up earlier about the cost to do stuff. So we bear the burden of pretty much all the costs. The roads, the sewer, the water, the engineering. I think the last project we did, it was about $78,000 in engineering costs. So each project has its own specific costs, and we phase our way into that cost based on the approval and the changes that need to be made along the way. So as we see, like water retention on here, we spec out a specific number of lots. If we get to the point where the engineers say, hey, this isn't going to work, we give up a couple of lots like we did over in Windsor Park. Originally, we had lots going all the way down, and we took 2 lots out and created a water retention area on the lowest point of the property down there with a weep. I don't know what they call it, but weird. Yeah, but a concrete release to help contain the existing water that's, that subdivision creates. We try to retain it all first and then let it slowly weep out. And we did the same thing up there. We split the road. In that case, we put Alamo coming out by Windsor Park, which we have an underground flow that comes under the sidewalks up there. That takes some of the water out into the drainage ditch into, 317, and the rest goes down Travis Street and flows into the retention area. So it splits that water to reduce the volume that's coming down.
And these will look kind of like the ones on Main Street or Travis and, or Alamo.
Yeah, so that brings up the parking. Thank you for bringing that up. But what we found as we've been doing these, originally we did the 3-2 setups with the 2-story units, which I like the look aesthetically, personally, the different style or different sizes. But what it creates is more cars, more kids and more family, purchasers. And so what we've found on the one that we did up on Windsor Park was to stick with 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and 2 parking spaces, and it kind of reduces the larger families and moves them over into the single-family units instead. So Doug and I have kind of worked together as far as how we develop. We're on the lower end as it relates to first-time home buyers or retirees, and then he kind of steps in right above that with regard to square footage homes, anywhere between, I think his over here were 1,500 up to like 2,000 or 2,200 square feet. So it put us in the range, well, when we first started, we were in the 125 range on Main Street. The last 3 or 4 we've sold, I think we're up at the $206 range. So obviously the prices have changed in the last, last short time, but we're still able to build nice homes that are affordable for younger folks and for, some of the retirees to move into. So.
Thanks, George. So it's 8:08. We will open the public hearing under item 5. Sherry, I know that you had something.
Yeah.
anybody who's lived here for any length of time has seen water this deep in front of that elementary school. And it's a lake on 3rd Street when you get a good rain. And I'm going to go to the map because where this water comes from, and you mentioned you purchased all that property over there. I assume you purchased the back end of the Spradley's property? Because that's where that railroad track runs, it's right through the back end of their property. And then it runs all the way down, and I think there's weeds about this high when you get down around South Jackson. That railroad area has not been cleaned out in years. We get a good hard rain, every bit of that rain runs right down that railroad track area, that railroad right of way, runs right straight down that area right there and pools at 3rd Street because there's no outlet. I know people, I'm married to one, who's had to be carried out of a classroom because of flooding at that school. I'm sure, Jimmy, you've had times when the water's been this high and your parents have had to park over there in front of Miss Bessie's. And why? Because you couldn't get out. That water is making a lake right there. There is no outlet. Now, from what I understand, you're going to make an outlet somewhere up there. Cleaning that out is just going to increase the flow, make it a lot easier to get down through there. That creek starts up at Ace Hardware. It runs all the way down through there. Once it hits that right of way, which it does, once it hits that right of way, and it hits that right of way back behind South Jackson is where it hits it. So, once it hits there, there's nothing to stop it except for a ton of weeds. And it'll take it right out. You get a gully washer and it'll take it right out. I mean, we've seen that water come out of that creek, running all the way down that side of that property where the school was. We've seen it. If there's not going to be a positive plan for doing something with the water on 3rd Street, something's got to happen. Cleaning out ditches underneath streets, all well and good, just makes the water come down faster. And if it's not a continued effort, because dirt, weeds, other trash, debris, all accumulate underneath those street areas, if there's not a continued effort to keep it cleaned out, it's going to be pooling up all down through there. And who's going to be responsible for, I noticed he's purchased that property, he said, and he'll take care of that property. Who's going to take care of the property, that creek, running all the way up Dave's Hardware? Who's going to take care of that? Is the city going to take care of that? Is the city going to pay for all this other cleaning down through here? What about running all down through there? So if it's diverted somewhere, is it going to come down through all those streets and come into 2nd Street? Hope not. I live there. I really don't want to flood. But the point is, that water has got to go somewhere. There's got to be a positive plan for where that water goes. Now, if you want to build a lake somewhere in there, that'd be great. But it's got to go somewhere. And right now, it's going to 3rd Street. And the more you clean it out, the faster that water is going to get down there, and the more water is going to pool up there. And it's no joke when I say water over knee high on 3rd Street. Multiple times I've seen it. I've had to wade through it to get my kids. Did somebody wade through and get you, or did you just have fun running through it?
It was fun when you were 7.
Huh?
It was fun when you were 7.
Yeah, I know.
And not a parent.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't fun when you were a parent. You weren't 7. And parking across the street. So, yeah. And as you know, it does curve down. And traffic area, yeah, I can see where there's going to be a traffic issue. I don't know if any of you have driven Patricia Circle lately. That's a joke. I mean, I try not to drive Patricia Circle, even though I know a couple of people on that street, because I can't dodge them all. You know, I started to just ride my bike because it'd be easier, but, you know, there's a lot, now you're adding more traffic in here. So now we're going to have to put this in a phase plan and get it done. And West 3rd Street, how many times are we going to use potholes in that street? How many times are we going to fill them up? You know? And the intersection of Taylor and West 3rd, how many times are we going to patch that? Now you've got more traffic in this area. More traffic. We're looking at a lot of city expense here, not just developer expense. Biggest concern though is going to be that drainage. That place, that whole place is going to flood. Unless you don't divert, if you divert that creek and you run it to on the backside, you may be okay. Then it'll just run into the senior housing. But anyway, that's the concern, is that drainage that ends up at Lake 3rd Street and Patricia Circle. Do they need that traffic there? Do they really need that, all that traffic there? That's a really quiet neighborhood. And now they're gonna get a ton of traffic. Okay, that's it.
Doris, yes. And if y'all were here the other night, I had a bunch of stuff, and I know I'll forget half of it now. But to begin with, when the school, I mean, it flooded definitely all the time. And when it does flood, like I said, there's kids with canoes up and down. It's probably your kids going up and down the street. But when they moved the school, we were assured, Mary Warrington and I was assured from the school that no, they cannot sell any of that land because it was in a flood zone. We will put a walkway with a park out there. We thought, good, you know, because you can't put houses out there, they're going to flood because the school flooded and everything else. Well, then we found out this was going to happen, and this is not good at all. I know you like to build houses, but trust me, don't build as many down there. I mean, I got another plan for you for 2nd Street. I didn't bring this up the other night because a lot of stuff was already answered. But yeah, that drainage deal that she was talking about, it's not cleaned out, Mike. I mean, it is so full now. If we had 2 inches of rain, it'd be flooding again. But do not put 2nd Street all the way to Patricia Circle because that entrance will be in the driveway of our neighbors. I mean, they won't even be able to get really out of their driveway good of that road. Take some of your houses, scratch them from your deal, from 3rd Street. Make an entrance from 3rd Street so they can go all the way around. They can get out through 2nd Street, go east, or come down 3rd Street. Because if they go down Patricia Circle, they're going to have to stop all the way on 2 ends to get to 3rd Street. Why in the heck go through our area that we like very much and not have 70-something houses with cars coming down our road and messing it up more? Make the entrance from 3rd Street. It would be so much prettier. You're not even going to see that area. No, you're laughing, but just picture.
It was the city's recommendation.
Well, let me tell you, city council or whatever. No, they probably did that because of the flood zone. But you really, yes, it is a flood zone, sir. You need to come through this area because water is up. You would not believe. You can't see any of the curbs, and like I said the other day, kids go up and down it in a canoe. Inner tubes, everything, you wouldn't believe. But no, take some of those houses off the front, and that way you could see a pretty entrance to your Blue Bonnet or whatever that subdivision is called. So it could be a nice entrance. You're not even going to be able to see the entrance unless you hit 2nd Street or Patricia Circle. I disagree with that one 100,000%. Whatever. Totally. But do you not agree with me putting it on 3rd? I know, you said the city. Who do we talk to the city? Is it the city council that did that?
No. No, that goes to city staff, so. I mean,
City
it's-
manager?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
It's,
Because the
You
traffic-
know me anyway.
the traffic pattern of that neighborhood was designed to have that street across there. And if you turn that thing, or you don't have that outlet, you're putting more on Third. It's already
Right,
in
and they're
bad
gonna be
shape.
there anyway.
Right. You gotta go through the street
It's
anyway.
your opinion.
That's so
And,
stupid to come down and have to stop on each end of Patricia Circle.
George, you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I just want to address the water issue, because I think there's a misunderstanding, maybe from the public, I don't know, but I've been through a lot of developments, and the whole intent is to stop the water from flowing, not make it flow worse. So the engineers create water retention areas to stop the water. So by law, we can't dump any more water down that drainage ditch than currently exists at this time. And in this case particularly, I think we can stop more of it by creating more water detention and stopping the water from flowing down the creek. Nobody is allowed to just come in and clean things out and let it run. It doesn't work that way. So we pay engineers a lot of money, including the city does, to create areas to stop the water from flowing and let it out slowly so that it doesn't flood downstream. That's the whole intent of development. So, that's what we pay all the money for, is to calculate all of the existing flow that's there now, plus whatever's in addition to that. So I just want to make sure that that's clear before it gets misconstrued, as to what's done. And we do that by creating, if we have to eliminate lots to do that, that's what we do. We create those areas. So like that area in the back is actually harmful to all the neighbors the way it's set up right now. It's humped in the center, so all the water shoots down the middle of the side of that hump, and it should be dished out and created berms on each side to retain it and let it out slowly. That's the whole point of water retention.
It has to go down that way, otherwise it's gonna be flooding the people on the other
It still goes
side.
down that way, it just is released slow.
Okay, and if you remember the other night, what did I tell you what Pierce Street was? That was a riverbed. And all those houses that was built on east side and west side, all that comes down from 6th Street all the way down Pierce, what does it hit? 3rd Street. That's the reason you've got 20-something inches of water going down the road, because it comes down from all of those streets down Pierce. There is no drainage. When they widen the road, and the teachers will know, that was here, and kids, when they widened that road, we thought, good, they're gonna put a drainage, city's gonna put a drainage deal. No, they just widened the river. And it all goes down where Tyler Elliott lives now, and then on behind Mose Bradley and all of them. And it goes ends up in Harris Creek. But it floods in the meantime, and that road that's over 2nd Street now, that's what I asked you the other night. What kind of road are you gonna put over that? Because, it floods. And you can't, just like I was mentioning a while ago, the ground now is water, dirt, and when it rains, it eventually absorbs. Cement doesn't absorb it, it just makes it more flooding. So, I'm sorry, I was just, y'all, the school refused to sell, they said they couldn't sell it. Then they said they was gonna put a park. Well, they did have an offer of somebody wanted to put a park down there, but the school, and you probably did it, Paul, you're on the school deal. You're on the council. No.
Not me. I got other kind of problems.
Robbie Joe gets it too.
Oh, and I was 7 when they widened that street, so.
But you remember what you did. But anyway, the
Hey, who else is on the school board?
School board they denied the person that wanted to buy the land for a park, and it's a very nice park that he was gonna put in. I said, yeah, because you wasn't gonna get all the money for all the houses in the tax deal. That's the reason you couldn't buy it. But the big thing is, if they can build houses down there now. The school already owned that property. Why in God's creation didn't they build up whatever they're gonna do and put a school down there? Now we're gonna have to get all these people in, we're gonna be needing another school, and we could have fixed that in the meantime. But bad news, and the kids, and there's a lot of them here that was in school, and parents that, I mean, I've been living down there for over 50 years, almost 55 years, so I've seen a lot. But, yeah, you know too. Yeah, Sherry lives around the corner too.
Doris, I hate to tell you, can you wrap it up for us, please?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, all this other stuff I did the other night, it's fine. Y'all, it's a done deal, I know. But what my deal is, Evans, I want you to redo 2nd Street and put it out on 3rd Street. 2nd Street to to Patricia, no. And everybody on there is saying no, so thank you.
Thanks, Doris. Okay, so look, that's, anybody else on the public hearing? Got a couple. Yep, go ahead, please, ma'am.
I'm Heather Holzman. I live at 300 South Taylor Street, so right on the corner of Taylor and 3rd. And we've been there almost 10 years. I love it. It's quiet and it's peaceful. My concern is I have a 10-year-old who will be at the junior high eventually, if it's still there. And adding all these houses and duplexes hopefully will bring some younger kids in the neighborhood, because there's not a lot. But my concern is people fly up and down 3rd and Taylor like it's nothing. And I would like sidewalks preferably to be put in front of these homes. I mean, I back out onto the 3rd right now, and I'm prepared for, if the junior high is still there when he is in school, that if it does rain, and when my older son was there, I told him, I said, don't you dare walk down that street to come home. Because when it rains, it's crazy, and I'm not trying to beat a dead bush. But, you know, I had to tell him, you have to walk down the other street. Because everything flows down that street. And we didn't know that when we bought. We had no idea that that was that way. But that's one of my comments, is I would prefer to have more sidewalks. I like to walk the neighborhood, and I prefer to walk on the sidewalk than walking on the street, especially when they're all potholy. And every time it does rain, whatever fixes they've done just get washed away. And so more potholes are created. That's one of my big concerns, is going to be bringing in big equipment to dig up and do whatever. It's going to tear up the roads even more. When's the city going to fix that? They keep saying, you know, they're going to fix the roads, and they're not getting fixed, very slowly. And I understand it takes time, but what am I paying my taxes for? But how much are the single-family homes are you pricing?
We don't price, I don't build the single-family houses, but I think the ones that we have that Doug is selling over in Windsor range anywhere between 300 to 400,000.
Holy mackerel. That's going to skyrocket my property taxes, but I mean, that's another thing. I mean, you know, and I'm not against 2nd Street running into Patricia. I don't live on that corner, but I do see their point. But I also see that, you know, 3rd Street's going to get even busier with all those houses backing out, you know, to that street as well. And I mean, I'm not against things being built, you know, that's fine, but things have to happen. But things need to be considered as well. And I mean, I haven't lived here all my life, but the time I have lived here, like I said, it's very quiet, peaceful. And you know, those are my concerns about that. And I would prefer not to have a bunch of duplexes, but we can't stop that either. So, I mean, as long as everything stays quiet, that should be fine with me. But definitely the city needs to address the speeding down the roads. I mean, I don't feel safe letting my son out on the street unless I'm with him, because people drive way too fast. And, you know, it just needs to be addressed. so.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. I saw another hand.
Hello, everybody. My name is Victor Hernandez. So me and my wife purchased that property right on Patricia Drive a year and a half ago. And one of the main reasons that we were attracted to that property was because we did not have a neighbor to our right side. Back in October, I even emailed Mr. Lenneman about me potentially buying that lot right next to his, just because my property line's kind of diagonal. So whenever I would cut my grass, the school would come and cut their side, and it was just all uneven and bad, right? So now we have the new development coming in, and my question is, we have 4 duplexes next to my property line. So my question for Mr. Eggets here is, are they gonna have a backyard? And if so now theoretically, you have 4 families playing ball with their kids. If their ball goes over that property or that privacy fence, where's that ball gonna land? You know what I mean? They're gonna land on my property and on my driveway with my 2 cars. And then he mentioned traffic. Where are these extra cars gonna park for these duplexes? I can already see them parking right on that circle in front of my property. And all the way up to Ms. Dory's property, all the way up. So those are my biggest concerns. I would preferably, I would prefer for them just to cut that property line straight through that circle, just so my house will not look awkward. Because I feel like in the way down the the line, it's going to depreciate my property, and it will, just because no one is going to want to live there. And that's just really my biggest concern for me and my wife. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name's Maria Tinoco, and Victor, he just spoke, and I wanted to also add, the traffic on Patricia Circle, it was so calm. Like, when we moved there, we were like, we were in that 2020 market issue where we were losing off, like, we couldn't put in an offer on a house because we were just losing everything that we would put an offer on. We actually were looking into the opportunity of buying a townhome from Mr. Eggets. But then whenever we ran on this property, we decided to put a bid on that one. We wanted a home. We weren't looking for a duplex. We're first-time home buyers. So, we ended up putting an offer on that home. We got it. We were excited, no neighbors. But now this is happening, and the traffic's gonna increase. Whenever my son goes outside and play with the neighbor's kid across the street, I'm concerned about possibly like a car going in there because it's a circle, so it's not straight. You can't see ahead. And like a car could be speeding in and bam, gonna hit one of the kids crossing the road. I'm not for 2nd Street running into Patricia Circle at all either. And another concern, like you mentioned, the 4 properties that are gonna be on our side of our home, like, is that even up to code? Like, can they even do that? Is that even possible? Like, that's my question. When we looked it up on CAD, there was already a lot that was already set up, like if it was gonna go around Patricia Circle. And we were like, oh, okay, that would make sense, with that awkward line. But then they came up with wanting to put townhomes that way. So we're gonna have a fence literally right on our driveway. And it's like right next to it. At first, it seems like on there, it seems like it's on our actual driveway. I emailed my survey to Mr. Eggets, and there was some clarification there. I think you were going to get back with me about your survey. But yes, I'm just not for some of this stuff on here. And I'm all for, McGregor growing. We're not, we decided to buy a home here in town. We both graduated from here. And, we wanted to continue living here, and, this is happening, and it's our first home. So, we don't know any better. We were just 23-year-olds just thinking, oh, we're just going to buy a home. We're not worried about, like, somebody eventually purchasing that property or anything, because there's black bars. And it didn't even seem like eventually there was going to be like a property line right there or a fence. So, that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. hearing is still open. Anybody else? Okay, then at 8:33, the public hearing is closed. And that takes us to item 6, which is discussion of possible action regarding a preliminary layout designed for a subdivision located at 3rd Street and Patricia Circle, where T.H. Jenkins Elementary once was located. So, under item 6, council, questions, comments?
Aren't they parking in front of your townhouses?
I'm sorry?
Aren't they parking in front of the townhouses?
Yeah, on these ones?
Yeah.
Yes, those townhouses back up to the church property, so the backyards of the Catholic, I think it's Catholic church there.
Yes.
On the backside, so that'll probably, most likely, never be developed, is my guess, unless they expand the church. But the parking for those units will be in the front of those units, and it'll be to the backyards of those single-family units on Second Street. So there'll be some privacy fences. You really won't see much of any of the parking, as it'll be behind the single-family houses. And that's one of the reasons the recommendation was no rear entry on those single-family houses, was to make sure that the parking for those is in the front as well, off Second Street, just like you would normally park at a house.
Council, what other questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah, I don't know. George, right in the center there, this kind of the standalone block, are those single-family houses, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
those
right.
are all single-family houses there across. And this is, like I said, this is preliminary. We may
Yeah.
shrink the townhouses.
Yeah.
What we've done in the past is where we have larger lots, like corner lots, and what we did out here, and we're just getting ready to build them now, is on Main Street, if it looks like it's going to be too compact, we'll turn some of those lots into standalone 1,400 square foot. They're townhouses, but they're standalones as well.
I have a couple of comments. One is about the traffic flow and that sort of thing, and I think, again, we have to defer to people that would be experts in that, whether it be engineer, George, city staff. I'd ask that certainly if the preliminary passes tonight, that someone take another good look at that, make sure we've got it the way we want it, what suits the greater good the best. And as far as the drainage, I do see it as an opportunity to fix what is a bad problem. Before now, there's just been an issue there, and there's been no reason for anybody construction-wise to go fix it because there was nothing there. I would assume that taking the school building down probably helped it some, but look, if there's one thing that George has earned around here, at least from this council, and I would think even the community at large, is a little leeway and some trust. I mean, he's been our best developer in this community, best home builder for the past 5 or 6 years. He bet on us when nobody else did, and I've never heard a single complaint about anything he's built. And so if Mr. Eggets tells us that he's going to fix the problem, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt from this seat at this point. So I truly expect George to hire the right people, and if we need detention ponds, more than one or whatever it's going to take, I think that he will. He's shown us in the past that he'll take the steps necessary to resolve that problem. Again, I think it's an opportunity to fix something rather than just continuing to have a problem. And I don't think it'll make it worse. I think it'll make it better. So those are my couple of comments. If someone could take a look at the traffic flow again to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Yeah.
I've got a friend that's a good traffic engineer. I'll revisit the issue with him.
And again, I trust George to fix to make a bad problem a lot better. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to address just a couple of things. One, obviously, we'll be required to put stop signs in and everything else that would mitigate some of the traffic flow. It's not just going to be a straight through shot out of the subdivision. You know, it would be a contained, similar to what we're doing over here, which we're required to put stop signs in where necessary. And then in addition to that, we always do sidewalks.
Sidewalks?
Yes,
Yeah.
we always build sidewalks regardless of what the surrounding subdivision has or doesn't have. If you go out to Windsor Park, those are all sidewalked, and, we use the all of our entryways are cement block, cultured cement block, and, aesthetically, I'm a big aesthetic person as myself, so I appreciate, I try to build stuff that won't deteriorate over 5 years, and, we'll use those same practices here, so.
I had a question about that, so thank you, because you just kind of answered it. Now, will that be sidewalks on 2nd Street, 3rd Street?
All of it. So you'll see, like when we do the townhouses, we have sidewalks that go in front, inside the curb, usually landscaping up to the sidewalk. I think it's usually like a 3 or 4 foot setback, and then a 42-inch sidewalk generally is what is put in. So, the streets are curved. We've actually had, good cooperation with the city to improve some of the streets, like we did over on 7th Street. It used to be just a little dirt path going through there, and we were able to curve and gutter it, and the city came through after we dug it all up and put sewer lines in there. The city came through and resurfaced it, and it's a nice little street now. So we've had good cooperation with the city as it relates to, the street improvement. We pay for all of the streets ourselves that are internal, and then anything that obviously we have to curb or gutter on the exterior side to, from a water standpoint. But I would say all told, in the community of McGregor, we've invested currently close to $8 million in improvements, in material, sewer, water, and, homes that we've built in the last, 3 or 4 years. Our intent, I live here, and my kids live here. My wife lives here, obviously, and so, I built homes from my girls who live here right off of Hayes, and so we're all taxpayers to this community as well. And I prefer to invest our money here versus Waco or somewhere else. So we saw the need for affordable housing, but yet good quality, and that's why we built them. So not everybody can afford a $4.5 to $600,000 home. And we're also good stewards to our neighbors. When we did the one on Main Street, we didn't have to go through and replace everybody's fence along the backside of those townhouses, but we chose to go to each neighbor. Mike, as a matter of fact, helped me and talked to each one of them, and we pulled their old fencing out and put brand new fencing, picket fencing up with gates if they wanted them. And so we try to be good stewards. Same thing with, a neighbor on Patricia. We've already spoken with her, and we'll come to, unfortunately for them, the property line comes right to the corner of their driveway. I can't help that. That's just where the survey, she sent me her survey. She was kind enough to email it to me, and I looked at it. And the property is the survey we have matches the survey that they have. So it does come to the corner of their driveway, but we'll mitigate it somehow and, work it out with them directly. And if that means us giving up that pointy little area and going straight across or whatever for the backyards, then that's what we'll do. I mean, we try to work with whoever's around us. And so far, we've been able to do that with all of, I think we've done 68 units in the very
How many were here on Main Street?
There was 32 on the right side and 15 on the opposite side, so total of 45.
And how many in this one?
There's 31 townhouses. Some of those will be standalones though. And then there's 34, I think, 33, 34 single family. And those lots will be bigger than the ones we did over on Travis. And if you look at, from a development standpoint, we could have broke it up and said, okay, we'll just do duplex lots. And this is where I kind of get into the strategy of developing. we could just say, okay, we'll meet the minimum that the city requires and do bigger lots and just build duplexes, right? But they end up just rental units in most cases. They don't end up being purchased. They're not first-time home buyers. They're not retirees. They're just renters. And that brings with it, you know, whatever issues may come with it. So we try to mitigate that. The square footage on those lots meets those requirements. We just have them zero lot line split instead of one single big lot for a duplex. So, you know, it may look like there's a lot of lots, but it's really that center lot line that runs through that unit, which gives it the ability to be sold individually, which creates ownership. So that's the whole rationale behind why we did it.
And Kevin, the Patricia Circle, that is in our plan on one to get redone, correct?
They all are, but I
Yeah.
think it's in one of the more current.
Yeah.
Third's gonna be the big one. Third is one of the only streets that runs from east to west all the way through town. The other one is Fifth, and both of them have an offset, which is interesting. The original layout design was kind of haphazard. That's okay. I do want to visit about the Second Street. We'll talk about that some more.
I actually think that that may help us from a water standpoint to split some of that volume rather than try to take it all on Third Street. So, and the addition of Second Street on that other end, you know, will create, I'm sure, with the, working with the, you know, the engineers from the city, you know, probably, I assume, like a cement culvert style setup where it, you know, contains that and we can put a road over it. So I'm sure we'll get through that part.
Okay. Council, anything else? Is there a motion under 6?
Motion that we accept the design for the subdivision located on Third Street.
Second.
It's a motion.
Preliminary layout,
Yes,
I should
yeah.
say, sorry.
That's, yes. There's a motion and a second under item 6 regarding a preliminary layout. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion carries. Tell you what, we're gonna add it for a while. Let's take, we'll still stay in open session, take 45, let's take a quick 5-minute break, okay? We'll be right back on it. Under item 7. Cassie, Angie, if y'all can hook us back up, and need to get going. Okay, everybody back? Great. All right. Still in open session. We're moving to item 7, which is to hold a public hearing on ordinance O-11-2022, an ordinance of the City of McGregor, changing a zoning classification for certain properties located within the city limits of McGregor.
Mayor, members of council, I didn't do that. So you did it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. This is the project we're talking about. Before I go through these slides, if y'all don't mind, I was going to have Walt say a few things, and then I'll go through these slides and let y'all know about everything.
We're all having fun this evening.
We are.
It's good to be back here. It's good to be representing this project. Aaron apologizes for not being able to attend. He has a teenage daughter with a severe medical issue, and they have gone out of state for treatment, and so I agreed to come. I am not an owner of this property, but Aaron and I have 2 other major projects that we're doing together currently, and I will probably be the builder for this property, so I didn't mind coming and visiting with y'all. You know, the nice thing about growth is it's a challenge, and y'all have done a great job over the last few years managing that. It's not always popular, but the result of the actions of the manager and the council over the last few years have brought you all these major companies to McGregor. Those major companies need places to live for their employees, and so you have kind of a madhouse, if you will. Everybody's trying to accommodate that. My guess is you could probably drop 600 homes in McGregor tomorrow and have them all full within a few months. I mean, the demand, most of the people coming into work are living in Waco and Woodway, and traveling. And so, you know, growth is an evil in some ways, and it's a plus in some ways. So, been a good job of managing that here. I've had the occasion to work with y'all for the last 3 or 4 years, and so, you know, it's positive. The project that we have going out here that Mike shows you a picture of is multifamily, and it's 90 units that are there. Most of them are single family, single bedroom, 1 bedroom. Due to the layout of this, the way they've got it set up, it's got an abundance of green area, and it has more than the required amount of parking. It's a very well laid out project. And so it's gated, completely gated, with the exit being, I can't remember the name of the street, Mike? Garfield. So it does not exit onto 84. It exits onto Garfield, which is a big plus. And the quality of this unit is fairly upscale. It would have granite countertops. It's got nice appliances and custom cabinets like we put in all the rest of our properties. And so you're producing a product here that will be in high demand. The apartments down the road are running about 95% occupancy right now, and that's due to summer turnover. It's been 100% ever since they were built, but with summer turnover coming, it's down to about 95 right now. So you're looking at a project that will fill up, and it will bring some good tax base to the city. If you have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Yeah, let's let the
Okay.
slide, and then I'm sure we'll have some questions.
Mayor, members of council, just to let you know, this is a rezone project. This is a rezone. This is what this is dealing with, is rezoning it from light industrial to multifamily. That's what the ordinance is. The reason that you're seeing this presentation is to show you why they're wanting it to go to multifamily, what you can see on there. The project's called Rose Hill, as you can see there. This is where it's located, to give everybody some bearing. This is Highway 84. There's the railroad trestle coming into McGregor. Design packaging is right here. This is the old, it's a spur now, but it's the old cotton belt that runs out to Perina. This is the current, where it's currently at. CRC is right there, and I forgot what the name of that business is. But City View Security. As you can see, the vision for their land, it's kind of showing you more of it. That's the whole piece of property right there of what it is. They're just basically showing you different views of what it is. Now, in this rezone, there's a strip that this LED sign that everybody sees is, that will stay. It's the only part that's in the light industrial that's not part of this project. It's just a little strip. Again, y'all can, that's what the look is going to look like. That's an aerial view. So basically what you're looking at is the railroad runs right here, the main line. If you see back here in the back, that's 84 going out of town. This is the look from what I saw, the McGregor side of it. There's another view. This is the topo survey of it. Currently, it outlines all of this in this area right here. This section right here is known as 8th Street, original town. If you look at the other maps, that street doesn't run, the street runs straight, but the road that's in there does not follow that contour. So the rezone that they're asking for is for this section right here, not this little piece. This little piece is owned currently by the Union Pacific Railroad. This is just a conceptual drawing site plan, as you can see, for this project. This is the third one we've gotten. This is the most, to follow the ordinance, the best possibility. Entrance off of Garfield, there's a turnaround. Again, there's a big water detention that's sitting right here. If you look right through here, you can barely see the dashed lines. That is a current underground drainage system that is on site. And as you see, the buildings have gone around that so that it's not interrupted. It follows into this. The engineers, it used to be 1519, and they have been bought out by a company called Bowman that I've been dealing with on this project and some other stuff talking. We've had some Zoom meetings and stuff on it. As you can see, there's 3 buildings, one big one there, that one, and that one. This projector thing to work. That's the layout for y'all to better see of it. They're required 190 something parking spaces. They have 209, if I'm not, they're pretty close to 209. So they're over the requirement of 2 per unit. As you can see, there's 8 units here, is that correct? There's 8 units here, there's 8 units here, there's 16 units here. They are 3-story structures. I did contact TxDOT because one of the issues that came up at the Planning and Zoning Commission was traffic impact analysis, another TIA. When I talked to TxDOT, it is not required on this property because they do not exit onto Highway 84. They will have one entrance right here. This will be their entrance exit. This exit right here will only be used for fire department access. Kind of like Creekside that we had down there. They have one main gated entrance, and then they have one that is just for fire department access only in case of emergency. This is a gated property. That kind of gives you, and all this stuff is in your packets, as you can see. There's the 1-bedroom units are 852 square feet. There's 57 of them. 2 bedrooms are 1,050, and the 3 bedrooms are 1,250. Sits on a little over 4 acres. That's about 24 units per acre. Parking, everything that's in this thing meets our guidelines for parking. Again, there's some other information that they put. Again, that's in your packet, just the look of it. And then there's the overall site plan. Again, this is a rezone project. They're just wanting to go from light industrial, which is currently zoned, to multifamily. The thing was brought up in the meeting, this has been said before at other meetings. If you remember correctly, all up and down 84 to be light industrial. It was rezoned to residential R10 because we have the Buckley Park out there. So we've all heard that. And that's why they come in and want to put in this apartment complex. There's some other information about where he's committed and stuff like that. That's kind of just a basic floor plan of the 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Again, these are in your packets. It's kind of hard to see on this. And then these are documents for replat that they put in there that we'll have to do at a later date. To get this approved. So I'm just going to go back to that one. Is that okay? Will that work? Or do you want the color?
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's all I have. There were, let's see, some of the comments that was traffic is a concern. Again, and that's why I brought up the TIA, because I did contact TxDOT, and they said it would not be required because they exit onto a city street.
So that really though becomes then our problem, and that's my concern. If we're not gonna get any state oversight, then that becomes our issue. So what have we done, considered about, 200 cars coming in and out, 8 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening?
The young lady that was here, when they designed, is it Maggie, when she was here at the meeting, and some of the talks that we had is, they looked at the traffic flow that they have at Creekside, because it's comparable to what this project's going to be, and that project is not, the flow of traffic is not as much as what they thought it would be when TxDOT did a TIA on that project, because you're going to have it maybe first thing in the morning when everybody goes to work, and then you'll have it 5 or 6 o'clock at night when they're coming home. But in that meantime, it was so low that it wasn't a major concern to them. I'm not saying that it's not to the council. But there, again, they were looking at some other things, some other possibilities that they can do. But right now, the main thing was just getting the rezone approved. So it's kind of like all our other projects we had tonight. We've got to get step 1 done before we can even go to step 2 and change that and get the design criteria. Again, everything will go through the engineer on what's going there. Bowman will work with Walker to get all that stuff figured out. And I'm pretty sure Kevin can probably answer this more than me. If there is a traffic issue, that'll be brought up when we do the review plans. When we review it.
It will be, and one of the things that we're probably going to anticipate is improvement of Garfield from 84 to their border, or possibly to that railroad crossing there, just to allow for a little more width and the turning and so forth that goes on there, but we haven't looked at it yet.
So all the entrance for in and out of that apartment complex, where that's going to be built, would be going in and coming out on Garfield?
Yes, so that's the only way that it can go in or
Know what I'm
out,
saying?
because of
So-
the drop of the railroad trestle on 84. That is the only possible way to go in on that section, is right there.
Or you're coming from, what, 3rd Street?
3rd Street
And then
up
Garfield.
Garfield. And the other thing they looked at is there's two streets that go in there, Arthur and Garfield. It's the only 2 off of 84 that go to what we call East Side. So trying to figure out that balance.
Arthur and
Arthur and Garfield.
Arthur and
Yeah.
Garfield.
It's only 2 ways from, and TxDOT actually has 2 turn lanes, not turn lanes. Well, yeah, they're kind of offsets that turn into.
So that road,
Few lanes.
that road is going through side of that building there. Is that a street there?
So.
You know what I'm talking about between,
Yeah,
on this?
so what you're talking about, so this road right here, what everybody calls Northeast First Street,
You know, on this side of the,
Design
at railroad crossing.
yeah, the one that goes from Arthur to Garfield, that goes behind
Yeah.
Design Packaging,
That's a road.
that's 8th Street from original town. Yes, that is a road. It
So-
pretty much runs right through here to where,
So what I'm saying, then, if that for a flow of traffic, then wherever that coming out of those apartment complex, you would actually have 2 ways to go to coming out and going down Garfield, you go straight and go down Arthur.
Well, to go straight,
What
where
is
that road is back here. And this is the entrance and exit. With the entrance and exit being this close to 84, most people are gonna go that way. They're not gonna come down this way. And then that road between Garfield and Arthur is just a gravel road
Yeah.
that's right behind Design Deal that they've kind of, or design packaging that they've used as a road forever. It's just kind of a storage area that they use.
But I'm saying that that's something that could be looked at, because instead of having where you just, the only way out of those apartment complexes to go to 84 is Garfield, where the cars coming in and out, so if somebody was coming down Garfield, you could turn right there and take that and go down Arthur.
Yeah, we can.
You know, that's something
Yeah.
that you have a different way than just everything going right out Garfield. Since that road is there, I mean, it's not, like you said, it's only part of a gravel thing, but people do drive through there.
Oh, yes, I know. I ain't lying, I did it when I was here.
Yeah,
I'd cut through. I'm guilty.
that was just something I was wondering when it all coming off of this Garfield.
But, like I said, the main thing of this meeting is to get it rezoned from light industrial to multifamily. We had some more light industrial at one time that went around on the other side of the railroad tracks where the exchange is. We rezoned all that to general commercial back in the day.
When we start talking about traffic and comparisons, how many units are at Creekside?
70.
There's 70, and could I specifically address that?
Yeah, please.
We had to do it TIA for Creekside, and we've had to do one down where we're getting ready to put in the storage unit, down by the 5J dance hall. Okay. And what they tell us, because I've questioned the engineer about the traffic and how they're doing that, and they do a count, but what he explained to me was that nobody leaves all at once. Okay, there's no 6 o'clock rush or 7 o'clock rush. He said there's a very metered habitually that where people will leave. 2 cars here, 1 car here, maybe 3, but that there's never really a mass exodus. And I said, is that true of an apartment complex also? And he said, absolutely. He said, it just that's the way it works. And so when they do the count, and so you're looking at a situation here, not only are they not exiting on 284, it'll be a metered response. It'll flow in and out. And so I don't think you'll have a problem. We haven't had a problem down at Creekside. And the only thing we have a problem with is that gate hanging up. And it's designed, it's set on a timer where it's open from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And then every once in a while, it'll either hang shut or hang open. But that's the life of a gate, an automatic gate.
And again, in comparison, so you got more units here. How much space do you have at Creekside versus this?
Well, we had, each of those buildings is just under 13,000 square feet. So 5 buildings would be your square footage, and this was, it was on there somewhere.
Yeah.
It was on one of the other slides.
You were on, so this is on a little over 4 acres.
Yeah.
And
We're on
that
about
Creekside
2.
was 5 acres, but where the development was on
About 3.
3 acres.
3 acres.
So that density is greater on that.
And where they've got 57 one-bedroom units, I had 2 one-bedroom units per building, so I had 10 one-bedroom units. And so their traffic count, that changes a lot of your factors. Our predominant market was going after 2-bedroom, 2-bath down there.
And what's the predominant market here then?
1-bedroom. They have 57 one-bedroom units. I believe that's what it said.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's a big difference.
They got 57 one-bedroom, 32 bedroom, and 9 3-bedroom.
It's going to be pretty comparable in size. just different in your amounts.
This one will have more usable green space, I think.
Yes, sir.
And it goes up another story. Instead of 2, it's 3.
So Mike, why did the P and Z deny it? What was their big concern?
It wasn't told to me. They just denied it.
But even by conversation that was
The
taken.
only conversation that I heard, the only thing that I heard is the fit. That's all I heard was the fit.
Fit on the property or fit in the community or
fit of
what?
of the apartment complex or multifamily, that piece of property wasn't fit for that. I'm assuming, I don't know. All I know is the motion was made to disapprove it. They didn't tell me why. It was made and seconded, and then when I, through a conversation, at a later date, it was just told that they didn't feel it was a good fit. And that's all I got out of it.
Were there people there at the public hearing, like,
Oh, there was
who
people
spoke on
did-
that item?
Yes, there were people on the, I have it written down here. There was a gentleman named Ray Vanek that owns where Macedo Towing is. He came up, he doesn't live here, he lives in West. His thing was the traffic on Garfield. And again, we told them at the meeting, we would find out from TxDOT to see if that was gonna be, and they're like, it's not. There were some other people, there wasn't, that's the only notes that I have of that, was Ray Vanek was really the only one that was asking any questions about that project. No one else asked any questions about that project, other than that.
Was there anybody mailed anything in or any comments made? that
From
were
what,
negative?
I checked with Angela on Monday before the meeting, and we didn't have any comments, whether email, mailed in, or verbally at all, for or against, or period on that project. So I don't, I'm kind of, I don't know. But like I said, the thing was, traffic is a concern, which we all know. Security was another concern. It is gated. There is a gate. If you look right about the middle of the detention pond, instead of the gate being right up here by the road, it gives a little queuing area for them to get up to that gate, which is right there. On-site management, they said there would be on-site management. And then they asked about the price point of the units. So a 1-bedroom would go for $1,250, a 2-bedroom $1,575, and a 3-bedroom would be $2,025, which is comparable to Creekside, correct?
It ain't cheap.
It's not cheap, but I think utilities are included in that? Some of them?
Some of them.
Yes, some of the utilities are included in that price.
The thing we found with our pricing at Creekside was that as we raised as our volume increased in demand, we raised our prices. We got a lot of working people from all over. And, that's what the demand is. Wasn't it, Kevin, was it 5 years ago y'all had the study done that you hired a consultant? They told you apartment complexes was your #1 need at that time, I believe.
No, but it is a definite need because you need to satisfy the demand that you're creating with the industrial work that we're doing. And part of that demand is going to be multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, what were those prices again?
A
The one
1-bedroom
bedroom?
was $1,250, a 2-bedroom was $1,575, and a 3-bedroom was $2,025.
Is it 1575?
$1,575 for a 2-bedroom and $2,025 for a 3-bedroom.
Could you put the picture of the apartments back up there? Right there, that one would work. One of the things, I'm investing a lot in what I call the 84 corridor. We did the apartments, and then we've got the 110 acres down there that we're developing, and we've got a commercial strip and working hard to bring in commercial, nice things. And, I like the fact that you can drive down 84, and I could look at this rather than a field or a metal building, because it helps the entire corridor. And so, that's a personal opinion, just from somebody that drives up and down 84 on a regular basis and is investing a lot of money in development of the corridor there. So,
There was a question asked if anybody else has looked at this property that the city has had to deal with. There was one that called, and they wanted to put an equipment rental facility there. Pretty much put their fence up around it, put gravel in there, and store rental equipment that they can rent out from Sunbelt or United Rentals. But I think that fell through, because I didn't hear any more on that project. That was the only other question that was asked.
So Kevin, do you have concerns about the traffic coming in and off Garfield? I mean, I do, but I can be overcome about those concerns, but.
Everybody's not going to work at the same time.
Yeah.
Some go at 6, some go at 7, some go at 8, some go 9, some work nights. Some work at 3 to 11. You know, they're all different times people go to work.
Yeah, particularly the folks you're bringing in into your industrial complex right now, everything is shift.
Yeah.
Everything. And so you're not going to have the impact you think for an 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock start time, whatever. There will be more than you think actually go down Garfield. I think that's where I would focus my efforts, is trying to make sure Garfield works. That connector street that he's talking about over to Arthur, that might be something we look at. But as far as what's going to happen on 84, you've already got the platooning of the traffic because of the traffic light up here on this side. So there's always going to be that waiting period for anybody waiting there to get into the platoon, just like there is now. You're not really talking about that much traffic. I know it sounds like you are, but you're thinking in terms of 180 people all leaving at once, and that's just not how it works.
Well, you know, now, if you look at it, basically, most of the time, usually most in the east side of town, is using Garfield. So this one thing for sure is going to create I won't say a problem, but if the people living in that complex coming out, going to work, where a lot of people that live on that side of town come down Garfield. See, that's why
I agree.
You know, I brought about the street there, so that way everybody ain't trying to go out Garfield, and if they were, even if they behind, you know, cars going out, you could just turn right there and go over to Arthur, because most people just gonna come down, just have it. Most people just go down Garfield and, you know, go to, more so, because if you know, didn't notice, and I don't know why it's like that or why it stayed like that, but one of the things, because for sure that stop sign on Arthur, where it's set, you stop way back here, and the road is up here. And the reason why that happened, for so many years, that stop sign was knocked down, run over, whatever, so they moved it way back. But all I was saying is, if you could, we come up with something for that road going through there, so you're gonna have where even there, that's just a habit. Most people just go down Garfield, but that was the main street. So, but they wouldn't be everybody trying to go out on 84 from Garfield. You could just, well, just go on over and go out Arthur. They might not have came down. I mean, you know, might not have came down Arthur, but once they got down there and that traffic coming out of those apartment complexes, there's gonna be some more traffic that normally wouldn't be coming down Garfield. So that's why when I thought about that, if we could do something, figure that out with that.
We'll take a look at it.
You know, it would be something, but I'm saying offset that, because there is some more cars that are gonna be leaving, going out of Garfield. So that's
From
something.
the standpoint of spacing, it's interesting because you have the railroad, they're gonna wall off all of that. And it's several hundred feet across there to the next house. You've got nothing on the north side because it drops off. It's gonna have a really nice appearance on a fairly visible hill coming into town. Across the street is an industrial building, or a light industrial building, I guess you will. And on the south side, it's railroad owned it's probably 1,000 feet before you get to the first house there. So it's kind of on an island, and from a zoning standpoint, working with multifamily, it's probably about as good as you're ever gonna get as far as neighborhood issues. The fact that it's gated contains those neighborhood issues completely both ways. And keeps your kids safe, it's got more usable green space. I think they've done a really good job laying it out. These folks know what they've done. They've done a lot of this in a lot of places, from Austin up to here, I guess. So I was pretty impressed with it. I know I had a conversation with Kyle Pascal this morning asking about it, because he came over about 9:30, he had 2 phone calls trying to find something to rent that morning. And just, you've got the demand, and if they don't live here, they're gonna live somewhere else where they can have this type of unit. I think it's, not everybody's gonna buy a house and move into it and stay 15 years at Knopf. But they might start out coming here, and, you know, if it's a family and they've got other folks that need a 1-bedroom place to have, I don't know that we have very many 1-bedrooms, even in your place.
Well, there's 10.
So I think the market demands it. You've got somebody who's willing to satisfy it in a very high quality way. I think you owe it to the companies you're asking to come here to have some decent housing, including multifamily. You've looked at, I'd almost call it medium density single family tonight with George's deal. Larger lots, 1/2 acre to 3/4 of an acre with a Han property. There's another guy looking at doing that right now over on the far east end, right up against Cottonwood, Cotton Belt. Thank you. Cottonwood's something I don't want to see much anymore. You've got George is fixing to do another little small thing, kind of finish out down on the south side. And this is the second real multifamily project you have. And you only had, I guess, 2 real ones before that. One's Barcelona, which is ancient, and then ours that we sold and they've rebuilt. So I don't know what to tell you. It's something you need, or somebody else is going to satisfy the demand. And it's not as good for you, because people who are working here that need this kind of housing are going to go to Waco and spend more money driving back and forth than they want to, and then they'll do all their shopping in Waco. So it's a step. It's a big step. I'll kind of say something to what Paul said earlier. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. And generally, it'll all come at the same time.
Tell you what, let's open the public hearing under item 7. It is 9:28. Public hearing is open. Anybody here from the public want to speak on this item? Anybody? Public hearing is closed at 9:28. With that, we go to item 8, which is discussion possible action regarding ordinance O-11-2022, an ordinance of the city of McGregor changing zoning classification for certain properties located within the city limits of McGregor. Council, anybody interested in making a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the ordinance for 11-2022.
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
Yeah, just.
Where are they?
There's a motion and a second under item 8. Any other questions or comments? Paul?
So the zoning board has rejected this.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so we're about to approve something that, it's in our purview to do that, right?
Yeah, which is uncommon. Say again, Mike?
Takes a 3/4 vote, so they have 25.
Yeah, and so for those of you who don't know, Mike is our city attorney tonight. He is, he's Charlie Olson's
I was wondering why you're chiming in over there.
Hi, Mike.
By the way, Mike, we're glad you're here.
So that's who said, I don't understand why.
You know, the only problem I have with it that I'm not understanding is, I'm not seeing where that, you know, I think if you make a decision about something, I feel like we should know what was your concern for not passing it. It'd be the same way if we pass it or don't pass it. Each councilman up here gonna be able to say, this is why I thought that it should pass. Cause I feel like, I just feel like if it was a concern,
Well, my understanding, Andrew, to that point is traffic. That was the
Traffic was a
concern.
big issue.
and I can, and see, so I can see that concern in one sense, but I'm just saying, I can see that it be eliminated for as working, as long as you don't, and I think maybe a lot of people maybe just thinking of everything going down Garfield, see, but it's not. I mean, you can remedy that by, like I'm saying, if you fix that street or do something with that. And it's just that probably most people, I'm not saying most people, but they know that most of the time you go over this way, you're gonna come down Garfield. Most people come, when they come to McGregor, I mean, coming from Waco, I do it, most people do it. You don't even turn that, Arthur, you go down to Garfield and turn.
It's a little easier to get on Garfield though off of 84 than it is to get on Arthur though.
And the reason
Yeah,
is you can see that.
yeah,
bump from that
see, so
84,
that's what I was
which is
just
part of the
saying.
company, you can make that
Right,
turn.
so that's why I was saying it was better, as long as you had another alternate way
If
to
it's
kind of go.
traffic, if it's traffic, I'm okay with it. I was just making sure
Yeah.
there wasn't some other big.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was doing, if it was.
I mean, I think it looks great, but
does look good.
it does, you know, it does make you think, well, how would traffic work there? But at the same time, if you have an apartment complex that has 70 apartments right now, and, I mean, Burson is the Healy.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had any issues with them going on 84 right
Now
there.
that you
have
say
we?
that, I don't even notice it.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
We don't see them.
I don't
I
notice
mean,
it.
and this one is a little bit more in, like there is a service road and then you get on, but I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm willing to say okay, and then I'm sure if there's an issue at that point, you know, but
Now this
I just
will
don't really see,
I don't see an issue.
see
This
it.
will come back to y'all once the rezone, if the rezone's approved for a replat. Because there's some other stuff. So if y'all do approve it, I'll get with them and see if they can, and the city staff, and try to fix the traffic issue maybe.
Yeah, let's
See what we can do.
do that.
Okay.
Let's do that. Let's get a real count, or a little, just let's do what we can. Do all the due diligence we can.
Make sure it happens.
There's already a motion, a second. Any other questions or comments? And hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Okay, all right.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all for your time.
You bet. Thank you.
We'll see you Tuesday.
Okay. Number 9 is to hold a public hearing on specific use permit to allow a duplex to be built more commonly known as 300 Arthur Street, McGregor, Texas. Mike Levis?
Because that item was,
That's pulled, isn't it?
no, not full,
Abandoned, withdrawn?
yeah. I was gonna give you the term, it was withdrawn, I think you got it. It was withdrawn because it was listed improperly on the.
Oh, yeah.
9 and 10 are both withdrawn.
Okay. So we will pass 9 and 10. There's no action there. That 10 has been withdrawn, so the public hearing related to it is not applicable. That takes us to item 11, which is discussion and possible action regarding approval of ordinance O-9-2022, an ordinance of the City of McGregor, Texas, relating to drought contingency plan, modifying the thresholds for a mild water shortage, modifying the threshold for a stage 1 mild water shortage condition, providing a new definition of a stage 2 moderate water shortage condition, modifying the conditions under which a stage 2 moderate water shortage condition may be rescinded, creating a stage 3 emergency water shortage condition, and providing terms relating thereto, and providing that the wholesale water contract shall contain certain provisions relating to a drought contingency plan.
Wow, I'm really anxious to watch my Atmos gas man talk about this item.
I had to say that, Mayor, Council. This, as y'all know, we're in a drought, stage 1 drought watch. So this prompted us to review our drought contingency plan. TCEQ has reviewed it, and they found some problems with the existing ordinance, which all we've done is change some of the language in the ordinance, and Charlie has put that together for us. That's what we're Some of the stage one, the percentages were wrong. I've got it on my, I'll have to read it off my phone if you want to bore you with the details.
Give us the highlights.
Real highlights.
Yeah.
TCEQ said do it, Charlie did it.
Exactly.
The real
The percentages were wrong. For stage one, it was like we had stage two listed as stage one, and so we had to change that.
So when you say percentages, though, Chad, what percentages of what? What are
Okay,
we
let me
looking
read
at?
as it's written here. Stage one represents mild water shortage conditions. The city will recognize that a mild water shortage condition exists when total water demand equals or exceeds 80% of the available water supply for 4 consecutive days, or number two, 85% of the available water supply for 1 day.
I got you. Okay, so is that available water supply like what we have in our tanks, or how does that?
I would think it's the tanks and ground lines and everything that services you, plus your wells.
So are we experiencing, a huge draw on our water right now? People.
We've not had the trigger pulled on our second stage yet. That will actually start to come from Blue Bonnet as much as anything else. Since we are inextricably tied to Blue Bonnet, we kind of follow their lead.
I just wonder if our water demand has gone up.
No.
Inordinately.
This was simply the product because of the review of the actual contingency plan.
Okay.
They located some errors in the plan as it was in the ordinance, so.
A lot of cities tied to Waco have had to go on their stage two, effective today. And so we're looking at it, we're watching.
It's probably gonna get worse before it gets better.
It's what the numbers say right now. I think it's as long-term as it's worse than 2011 was. But fewer wildland fires, knock on wood, so far.
Okay. Chad, anything else you think we need to know about this?
I don't think there was a stage three in our ordinance, and we had to add stage
Okay.
three in that, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
It was TCEQ's recommendations, and we got them together with our plan and sent it all to Charlie, and this is the result.
Sounds good. Okay, so is there a motion under item 11 just by renaming the ordinance number?
I move that we adopt O-9-2022.
There's a motion and a second under item 11. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And motion carries. Thanks, Chad. Item 12, receive financials as of May 31st, 2022. Ms. Carolyn?
Y'all don't object, we're gonna kind of fly through these.
As long as we got plenty of money somewhere.
Good.
All right.
The May is 66.67% of our fiscal year, and if you'll note, all of our revenues are right at it or above it. As far as that goes, all our expenditures are below, except the exchange, which you'll note they have 108% in revenue, and so, and 91% in expenditure, so we're still good there. One more. Okay, our operating funds are up 5,000, our debt service is down 198,000, capital projects are down a little over $1 million, and our grants are up 661,000, and our full cash is up 2.2 for a net of 1.6 or 1.7 million more than we had this time last year. Okay, and then on our sales tax, I'm very proud to say we're at 981,000 for this year. So it looks like we will surpass it, $1 million this year.
Have we ever done that? Have we passed, ever passed $1 million?
No. Your next highest was 907, and that was in last year. So we've exceeded last year already by 74,000. It continues. It's a growth.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
we need to back up. We were in error.
Yes.
The Geesling project does need to be heard. Mike ran off on us, but he's back now. So,
Shut up, I'd have been on the way home already.
The public hearing was noticed correctly in the paper for the correct address. It was a typo on his planning and zoning agenda, so I corrected it on our agenda, so there's no problem with us.
So did planning and zoning hear this item?
They did hear the, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
because the public hearing was supposed to
The
correct.
public hearing was right in the paper and all that
Yes.
stuff. It was a typo on the.
Which ordinance is this?
I tried, man. I really hard.
Okay, that's that duplex.
correct.
There's no presentation, there's nothing for that project, reason being, they denied it. There was no information. All we had was an application, and that was it. There was no drawings, there was no literature, there was nothing. It said they did not approve it based on no information provided.
And we don't have any tonight either?
I don't have any tonight either.
Denied.
Okay, so look, let's, hang on. Let's go back through then. So we're gonna address then 9 and 10 because it is properly on the agenda,
Yes.
correct?
You have to hold the public hearing.
Okay, so let's start with item 9 then. At 9:41, we're gonna hold a public hearing on specific use permit to allow a duplex to be built, more commonly known as 300 Arthur Street, McGregor, Texas, the Geesling project. So the public hearing is now open. Anybody gonna speak on behalf in an open public hearing? All right, public hearing is closed at 9:41. That takes us to item 10, discussion and possible action regarding approval of specific use permit to allow a duplex to be built, more commonly known as 300 Arthur Street, Geesling. I assume the recommendation is to not approve or to take no action, rather.
That is correct, because there was not enough information provided.
Okay, so council, then is there a motion under item 10? And again, we don't need a disapproval action, we just need to know if there is a motion to approve. So is there a motion under item 10 to follow the language as stated? Hearing no motion, item 10 dies for lack of a motion. No further action needed to be taken on that matter.
Thank you.
So all I have, Ms. Long,
That is it.
thank you, I'm going home.
You're not out of trouble.
I'm never out of trouble.
Okay, so that then takes us to item 13, which is a closed meeting. Closed meeting pursuant to Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in Section 551-071 Legal, 072 Real Estate, .074 Personnel, and Section 551-087 Economic Development. Item A is legal under Texas Government Code, Section 551.071 and Rule 105, Professional Rules of Conduct, discussion with attorney on confidential matters. Item,
That's it.
That's all you have to say.
that's it? Okay, good. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Okay, we got it covered then. So at this time, it's 9:43. We will go into executive session and then come out, open it back up, and finish items 14 through 17. We're in executive session. You got it. Tell me when. Okay, so it's 9:59, we're back on in open session. Takes us to item 14, which is to authorize the city's attorney to file a lawsuit against Phoenix Fabricators and Erectors LLC or its successors for work conducted on the water tower. Based on recommendation of our city attorney and staff, is there a motion under item 14?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the city's attorney to file a lawsuit against Phoenix Fabricators and Erectors LLC or its successors for work conducted on the water tower.
Second.
There's a motion and a second under item 14. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion carries. To item 15, announcement from the city manager.
All I have to announce is that I went to Colorado for a week, and I came back, and it was hot.
It was hot before you left.
I have no other business, Mayor.
Okay. Under 16, request comments from the mayor and/or council. Anybody have anything, questions, anything on your mind? If you got something, I always tell you, bring it to Kevin's attention, get it addressed. Yep. All right, that takes us to item 17. This meeting is adjourned.